Chapter 1, Frozen Cowboy, written and read by Braley Parkinson. Stacy was patiently waiting for the final report of the day to arrive in her email when she heard the ringing of her phone. She paused, unsure if she should answer it or not. But after 4 rings, she couldn't ignore the guilt any longer and picked up the phone. Hi, Mom, she said. Can I call you back in a few minutes? Robin Timmons ignored her daughter's question and said, Guess what happened? Your great aunt Ethel passed away. I'm sorry to hear that, but I don't think I've met her. Actually, you met her several times and she adored you. Do you remember going up to her place in the mountains? Mom, I have to let you go. She left you something special. Ethel knew she wasn't going to be here long, so we've been talking, and since you are one of the few descendants Ethel had, we set something up for you. I can call you back in. You finally got a ticket out of that terrible city. Have you ever considered living in a nice little town where everybody knows your name? Mom, I love living in Chicago. Stacy, it's such a dangerous place. Just wait until you hear what Aunt Ethel has gifted to you. Since you were her first great grandniece, she left you her yak farm. Stacy wasn't sure how to react. A yak farm? Was that even a thing? She'd been born and bred in Illinois and currently lived a life of great comfort in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood. And yaks? Why would her mother think she'd ever consider taking on something like that? Stacy wasn't sure how to react. A yak farm? Was that even a thing? She'd been born and bred in Illinois and currently lived a life of great comfort in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood. And yaks? Why would her mother think she'd ever consider taking on something like that? You probably don't remember going there, but we took a trip to her place when you were young. You were probably 2 or 3. It's a beautiful place in the middle of a bunch of mountains. There was a monastery nearby, but they closed up shop a few years ago and gave the land to a university that promised to use it for agriculture. There won't be much urban development, but that's probably for the best. The land is incredibly valuable now, but I think you would really enjoy living there. Stacy couldn't understand why her mother thought she would want to leave Chicago. However, arguing with her would only make the phone call longer. She wanted to hang up as quickly as possible so that she could focus on finishing her work. How many acres are we talking about? Not sure. Do you have any vacation time you can use? Stacy rolled her eyes but refrained from saying anything. Yes, she had vacation time. No, she hadn't really planned on taking a vacation, and she definitely didn't want to use vacation time to head to a farm. Mom, I'm almost done for the night. Can I? How did your date go the other night? Stacy groaned inwardly. She had been hoping to end the phone call before that question inevitably came up. The date had been a disaster. After meticulously sorting through countless online dating profiles, she had finally agreed to go out with a lawyer from Skokie who suggested dinner as their first meeting. Stacy felt confident after their brief encounter in a public cafe, so she decided to take him up on his offer. She carefully chose a red dress that hugged her curves and paired it with matching stilettos for the occasion. However, her date arrived 40 minutes late and only talked about sports during dinner Chicago Bears, Bulls, and Blackhawks specifically. She was completely uninterested and bored throughout the entire meal, and then he had the nerve to suggest splitting the bill at the end of it all. Yeah, that didn't go so well. Still in infinite spinsterhood here, but I have my kitties, Stacy said, casting a smile at one of her kittens who returned her affection with a hiss and swipe of his paw. Stace, are you asking for too much? I mean, this guy is a lawyer, right? Yes, but he wasn't much of a gentleman and he has an obsession with sports. But is that a reason to kick him out of the running? It's okay for a man to like sports. I can go shopping without having a guy vegging out on the couch watching football. Stacy hated it when her mother made it sound like her dating life was some type of competition. She felt like it was time to recognize that the success she'd experienced in her career was going to prevent her from marrying. She had 2 cats to keep her company and plenty of money. Snuggles with her kitties or a quick trip to Cabo San Lucas usually kept her from getting too lonely. Mom, I'm happy with my life. I don't need a man to make me whole. I just want you to have something like what me and your father have. You and dad are part of a dying breed. No one is married for 40 years these days. Stace, your father is the best thing that's ever happened to me. There are times when I want a companion, but if he isn't up to my standards, I'd rather be alone, Stacy quipped. Standards won't keep you warm at night. I hope you find the right guy soon. That will stop you from thinking about love as something you can track on a spreadsheet. Stacy laughed. Listen, Ma, if he can't score 100% on my preliminary quiz, he's not worth it. That thing has saved me from some real losers. I won't stand for you talking bad about my dating spreadsheet. The dating spreadsheet, which contained 20 questions, had become a running joke for her mother, but Stacy thought it was brilliant. She'd slip the questions into initial conversations with men and quietly rule them out based on their responses. The dating spreadsheet had proven to be a valuable tool in navigating the world of dating, saving her precious time and effort. She'd slip the questions into initial conversations with men and quietly rule them out based on their responses. The dating spreadsheet had proven to be a valuable tool in navigating the world of dating, saving her precious time and effort. At 35, Stacy had never had a serious relationship. Over the years, she'd dated, but none of her dates had turned into anything long term. Stacy didn't feel like she was too picky. She just didn't think what she was looking for was out there. Mom, listen, the workday is almost over, but I've got a few more things to do. I have some vacation time so I can head to the yak farm, clean things up, and get the thing on the market. Okay, I'll let you go, but before I do, when do you think you'll get out of there? Do you think you'll want some company? We should talk about this new property you own. It might be a good idea to hold on to it. Can I come over tonight? Stacy felt her cheeks rise. Her mother truly adored her, and she was hands down Stacy's best friend. Well, the answer to your first question is I don't know, but you can absolutely come over tonight. I would love to have your company, but no more bugging me about finding a man. It ain't happening. Tonight, we'll have ice cream and watch a movie. No more about men or yaks or where I live. Sometime in the future, you're going to say, Ma, you were right about everything. Maybe, but not tonight. Stacy's mom arrived just after 7. The two watched Notting Hill and ate red velvet ice cream and kettle corn. Her mother sobbed at the part where Julia Roberts asks for love. That's what it's all about, love. She said, squeezing Stacy's hand, No, Mom, it's about money. Her mother stopped crying and stared at Stacy. I'm joking. Come on, Ma, stop being so serious. The two burst into laughter. After the movie, Robin steered the conversation. Now, let's talk about what's going on with this great new property you've inherited. Your aunt sure loved those yaks. She moved up to Friendly Valley back in the late 1970s, and we all thought she was crazy. What made her decide on a yak farm? Well, that wasn't the initial goal. She moved up there to get away from the city. She'd been a biologist working in a lab at a big university, and she just wanted a change. I think she started the yak farm just before she retired. Wow, that's a bold move. Yep, very bold. What was she like? She was wonderful, a real spitfire. She'd gone through a rigorous program of study where she was the only black student and one of only 2 women. It was quite a feat. But after that, she took the job at the university. It was rough. Eventually, she got tired of all the stress. Academia is so political, and that's just not who Ethel was. She was all about merit and logic. When the university shifted to a more politically correct stance, she wanted out. People argued with her about the decision to move so far away and to a place where she didn't know anyone, but Ethel refused to hear it. She definitely had her own mind. How come we didn't visit her more often? It's a long drive. Your father doesn't like to fly, so we were always taking road trips. Ethel lived up in the mountains. We had never seen mountains like that, and neither one of us was that keen on driving up there. The time we went to her place, you played with the chickens and drank water straight from a stream on the backside of her property. You were young and don't remember it, but we were there and she loved having you around. She said you were going to be something great. I wish I'd known her better. Over the years, she became more of a recluse. I'd send cards and she would respond at times, but she just was busy and living her life. When she got sick, we started talking on the phone a lot. She kept asking about you. Why didn't you tell me? Stacy asked. Robin threw her hands in the air. I did. You told me you were too busy to call her. Stacy was about to protest, but caught herself. She faintly remembered her mother asking if she had time for a phone call from a distant relative. I guess I kind of remember. I wish I'd taken the time. Yeah, but we can't change the past. We can only make a difference with the time we have now. You're right, Stacy said. I need to make more time for people and work less. Agreed. Ethel was a great person. She would have loved to hear from you, but I know she is smiling down on you now. That's another reason it would be wonderful for you to carry on her legacy. I see what you're doing. Listen, I love Chicago. I'm going to book a flight, check out the place, see what needs to be done, and go from there. Excellent. Who knows? Maybe you'll love it. Chapter 2, Frozen Cowboy. Tyler planned the trip so he would be driving on his birthday. Being behind the wheel of his old Chevy, making his way through a 12-hour drive was the perfect excuse for not answering his phone. The barrage of calls and cheerful messages wishing him a happy birthday would just add to his disappointment. He recalled the conversation he'd had with his good friend Donnie Thompson a few days before.
You're coming back? Sweet. I could use a hand on the ranch.
Really? I'd appreciate a job, Donnie. That'll be a good start. It should only be a few weeks before I can find something else.
You haven't been to Friendly lately. There aren't many jobs left. The mine closed and took half the town. Real estate is hot, but it's all outsiders moving into our place.
Really? That's not what I expected to hear.
Tyler couldn't imagine city folk driving deep into the mountains to live. Friendly was almost 2 hours away from the nearest metropolitan area.
Yeah, people are moving here. Most are picking up vacation rentals. Visiting Friendly and living here are two different things. You still got that shaggy hair? I've seen your pictures online. Hope your folks saved your old clothes because that hippie thing won't work around town.
Tyler thought about his long blonde hair and cargo pants. He remembered his ex-girlfriend taking him shopping for clothes after he moved to California. Skinny jeans, cargo pants, and Birkenstocks were some items in his new wardrobe. The kids that worked at the coffee shop with him said he had drip after the makeover. Tyler still didn't know what that meant, but it seemed to be a compliment of sorts.
I'll clean up when I get home.
Speaking of which, when did a bull-riding cowboy like you become a hippie? You ain't feeling comfortable with that hair, are you? Donnie asked.
It is what it is. Things are different here. No cattle to rustle up, no bulls to ride. I've been out of my element, but it kind of became who I was.
Well, you're coming home now. It'll be good to have you back. Make sure you take the shears to that mop before I see you.
Heading home was the last thing Tyler had expected he'd be doing for his 30th birthday. After 10 years of trying to make it big in Hollywood, he was headed home to Friendly Valley, leaving behind the nagging girlfriend who'd introduced him to elements of life that would curl his mother's hair and the friends that had stabbed him in the back too many times to count. Packing up his tiny studio apartment that sat in the shadow of the old Cecil Hotel had been easy. Nothing he had was new or worth taking with him, so he gathered his clothes and tossed the rest on the curb. As he climbed into his truck and cranked the engine, he realized he was starting over at 30. Or was it even worse than that? When he thought about what was happening, he really wasn't starting over. Tyler's adult life seemed like it had never begun. He was going back to his parents' house, taking on the same part-time job he worked in high school. And worst of all, he didn't have a woman in his life. Tyler was still waiting for his adult life to take off. So far, the only grown-up thing he'd done since graduating high school was working on his uncle's farm in Iowa. Every other decision had led to stagnation or regression. Where would he be if he'd never left Friendly? After a bad breakup with his high school sweetheart, he'd headed to California, with a broken heart and a half-baked dream that had been nonchalantly whispered in his ear. In time, he'd learned that most transplants had moved to LA to make it big. Everyone thought it was going to be different for them. They would be the one to break the mold. That was the same story Tyler had told himself, but when he got to town and called the number of the business card he'd received the previous summer, the phone was disconnected. Eventually, after searching online for Garland Grantchester, he found a man he'd met one morning at Hometown Heroes. Garland had made audition promises to Tyler after he'd helped the man get his car running again. Of course, it was a promise Garland Grantchester had never expected Tyler to follow up on. Garland was working in a coffee shop on the west side of Los Angeles. When Tyler saw the man who had claimed to be a Hollywood agent brewing coffee, he decided to just go with the flow and build a life in LA. He had a stash of cash from working for his uncle. Surely Los Angeles couldn't be that bad. And it wasn't, but in the end, as he drove away from the city for the last time, he realized the place had broken his spirit. Tyler's beat-up 1978 Chevy pickup clunked along the highway, hiccuping now and then, threatening to stall. As he exited the interstate and drove toward the mountains, he couldn't help but feel a bit of excitement rising from the pit of his stomach. Being back in town would be bittersweet. His mother's delicious homemade pies and cakes, working with his father and brother on projects, and finally getting to spend time with his sister, brother-in-law, and nieces and nephews. That was the good stuff. The bad stuff? Well, everything else. Tyler was the one member of the family that wasn't established or married. He had changed little over the past 10 years, other than working a lot of low-paying jobs, turning in his cowboy boots for Skechers, and ending up back at the drawing board of life. Finding a job in Friendly would probably be tough, but what did he have to lose? As Tyler exited the interstate and turned onto a mountain road, he spotted new buildings. The area was still small by most standards, but he noticed recent developments had popped up near some of the small towns. He was surprised to see that houses and office buildings lined the edge of the two-lane highway that was the gateway to his hometown. Friendly is hidden in between two lakes high up in the mountains. As a kid, Tyler had spent time running through the woods and enjoying the country. He'd missed Friendly while he lived in California, but he always was too embarrassed to come home. Instead, the family had met up at the Grand Canyon, Arches National Park, and other wonders in between Los Angeles and Friendly.
Can we come out and see you?
His mother had asked several times.
It would be best to just meet somewhere. Los Angeles is such a big place, and the traffic is horrible. I don't think you and Dad would like it.
All of that was true, but the real reason Tyler didn't want his parents to visit was because he knew they'd do whatever they could to get their son out of the neighborhood where he lived. The tenement he called home was a known hangout for drug users and dealers alike. There was an open-air drug market behind the building that fueled a vagrancy problem inside the structure. It wasn't uncommon for Tyler to have to step over snoring bodies on his way up to his fifth-floor apartment. He would never expose his parents to that type of situation. It had been years since he'd been to visit Friendly. The further he drove into the wilderness, the more thankful he was to be going home. Still, as he climbed the winding canyon road, Tyler felt anxious. He loved his hometown, but knew it would be hard to fit in after being away for such a long time. Would he feel like he was back home when he got there, or was it true that you could never go home again? The fact that his parents and two siblings were standing out front, waiting to pull him into a group hug, told him he might still have a place in Friendly. Jane and Burt Bennington had aged gracefully, but the shag of gray hair sticking out from underneath his father's hat reinforced the passage of time. His two younger siblings, Angel and Bryce, were all grown up and had families of their own. Bryce and his wife Eliana were in front of his parents with their two children, Peter and Caitlin. Angel and her husband Doug were holding hands while their kids ran around in a circle. Tyler felt a smile spread across his face. Everyone looked so happy, and even though he was coming home without a child or a spouse, he was so excited to see that everyone else had found joy. Yes, he was the only stagnant family member, but knowing his parents and siblings loved him regardless of his standing in life reinvigorated his mood. Tyler parked the truck, jumped out, and ran into a group hug.
Son, we are so happy you're home.
I made your favorite lemon meringue pie. Happy birthday, son. It's so good to see you.
Jane said, kissing Tyler on the cheek.
Things have changed around here.
Tyler said to his mother.
Nothing stays the same. Besides, you've changed too. Look at that mop on your head. Remember when you were my clean-shaven, short-haired boy?
Tyler laughed and looked down at his ensemble.
Maybe the hair is why I'm unemployed.
I'd say that's a good guess. What the heck happened to my big brother?
Bryce said, laughing. He's from the city, isn't he? Caitlin whispered loudly to her mother. Eliana laughed. Uncle Tyler is from here. He just got lost out there, but he's found his way home now. The family giggled and poked fun at Tyler for a few minutes.
Okay, you all have had your fun. Listen, I want to get back on my feet immediately. I don't suppose any of you know of jobs around town.
His mother gently placed her hand on his cheek and said,
There are some, but I don't know if they pay well. Why don't you take a few days to get reacquainted with the place, sweetheart? There's no big rush for you to get on the move.
Mom, I'm 30. All my friends are married with kids, they have houses and careers, and here I am just trying to find a job that'll get me through the week. Better get going on things.
Son, everyone's path is unique. I've got an idea. Why don't you head out around the ranches and see what you can find? Someone always needs a hand there.
I'm working with Donnie for a couple of weeks. It's part-time, but I'll see what else I can find.
Great. But tonight we're eating cake and playing Monopoly. Big Bro is home.
Chapter 3. Stacy's phone buzzed and fell off the edge of the nightstand by her bed. She moaned and rolled over and tried to find the phone without sitting. Mr. Wiggles, her tiger-striped tabby, annoyed by her movement, reached out and scratched the arm she was using to locate the phone. Ouch, Mr. Wiggles. Are you serious right now? Her black cat, Beatrice, woke up and pounced off the foot of the bed. Mr. Wiggles followed her out of the room and something went crashing to the floor. Stacy considered checking to see what the cats had knocked over, but decided to just let it go. She felt the phone with the tips of her fingers and stretched to grasp it. Stacy brought the phone to her face and focused on the text message, which said, I wasn't able to finish the reports last night. I'm sorry, but I'm very sick. A message you should have sent me last night, Stacy said. It was just after 7 Saturday morning. She should be sleeping in. Not reading a text message from her assistant, Ashlyn. The incomplete reports were due Monday morning, so there wasn't much of an option to leave them undone over the weekend. Stacy tossed her phone back onto the nightstand by her bed and sat up. This was the fourth weekend in a row she had found herself in a position where her cushy 5-day-a-week 9 to 5. I'm tired, she muttered, falling back on the bed. 5 minutes later, the phone rang. Assistant vice president position at the bank 5 years ago. While she was financially rewarded, the bank president was rarely available. She remembered how big her eyes had gotten when she'd seen the salary offer. Now she knew why it was so high. Her boss, Robert Whitmore, was never around when things went south. She tried to remember the last time she'd seen him in the office. I'm tired, she muttered, falling back on the bed. 5 minutes later, the phone rang.
Good morning, Stacy. You going to finish up those reports Ashlyn couldn't get done? The P&L statements look great, by the way. Thanks for getting those in long before the deadline, and I was wondering if maybe you could make it to this meeting I have scheduled for Monday and…
Robert, there's been a death in my family.
What? Oh my gosh, Stace, no, I'm so sorry. What day do you need off next week? Is the funeral set? I can get you a few hours off whatever day it is, but I don't know if next week is a good time to take a full day off because I've got things going on with my kids. And Jenny has a dental appointment, so I must pick the kiddos up from school and…
The relative lived out of state. I have to go there and take care of her property and paperwork. I'm the only one that can do it.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, how much time will you need?
Stacy thought about the month's worth of time off she had saved up. There was also a generous bereavement leave. Robert, I don't know. I'll call you.
Oh, Stace, I want you to know how sorry I am, but I have some things going on next week and I kind of need you. So, if you could take care of this as soon as… Oh, Stace, I want you to know how sorry I am, but I have some things going on next week and I kind of need you. So, if you could take care of this as soon as…
Stacy let Robert drone on in her ear for a while, but he lost her after admitting that he needed her. That fact had been clear for the past 5 years, but it was the first time Robert had said it out loud. Robert, I said, I'll call you. Robert stopped prattling along mid-sentence.
Oh, I see. Okay, Stace. Let me know if you need anything.
Stacy ended the call and headed to the kitchen. On the way to the fridge, she tried to fight off thoughts that were becoming more frequent. She needed to change her life. Of course, most would be satisfied with what she had. She lived in one of the best neighborhoods in the city, overlooking Lake Michigan. Her condo was lovely but overpriced, and the job paid exceptionally well, but it required her to work day and night. Weekends, her phone was always attached to her hip. It went off in the middle of dinner or a girl's weekend out or a road trip with her mom, and Stacy felt she had to answer. She was always on the clock. A trip to a small town that probably didn't have cell phone reception was just what she needed. Halloween was a few days away, so the hope was that she could go there, take care of things, sell the place, and be back in Chicago for Thanksgiving. Of course, it wasn't like she had any reason she would need to be back in town. It wasn't like someone was waiting for her. Maybe I'll just see what happens, she told Mr. Wiggles and Beatrice. Don't worry. Mom and Dad will take care of you too. Stacy booked a flight and called her mom. I'm so glad you're considering taking on the ranch. Ethel sold the animals a few months ago, so it's just land and buildings right now. You could live on a little homestead. That's not what's happening. I need a break from work, and this property needs to be taken care of. I looked at property prices in the area, and I might be able to make a good amount from selling the place. What about keeping it? Mom, I have a job, a great condo, and a life here in Chicago. Why would I leave all of this for a farm in the middle of nowhere? I still think you need to consider the fact that there are nicer places to live in this job. I know it pays very well, but it is keeping you from what really matters. And what is that, love? That's what life is about. Stacy sighed and waited for the lecture about how she could have been married if she only weren't so picky. Mom, has it ever occurred to you that I'm happy you sleep with a teddy bear? Stacy burst into laughter. Don't talk bad about Rizzo. He's been with me since first grade. I also have Mr. Wiggles and Beatrice. Mr. Wiggles actually hates Rizzo. There are battles from time to time. I bet Rizzo is ready to retire so your husband can take his place. The crazy cats will be fine with anyone who will fill the food bowl. I'm glad you feel that way because I need you or Dad to feed them while I'm gone. Robin agreed to feed the cats and look out for Stacy's place while she was gone. Stacy said, so tell me about this yak farm. Why, oh why did you think I'd want it? I just thought you needed a place where you could unwind and get things under control. You work all the time. Last night was Friday and you were hanging out with your mom because I love her and she is my favorite person. And I love you too. That's why I can't stand to see how much stress you're under. My beautiful girl is hurting inside. I can see it. Well, I'm headed to the middle of nowhere. Does that sound like an upgrade to my social life? The next morning, Stacy put on a red plush sweater, beige dress pants, and knee-high black patent leather boots, grabbed her luggage, and waited for her dad to pick her up and take her to the airport. The direct flight would get her into town by 10 that morning. After that, she would drive to Friendly, which, according to Google, would take about 2 hours. She packed her laptop, sweats to wear while cleaning, and a few worn t-shirts. "You don't look like someone who is headed to a farm," her father said. He'd come up to the condo to help Stacy carry her luggage. "I'm not going to turn into a farm girl just because I'm headed to a farm. Are you sure you'll be okay by yourself?" "Of course, Dad. Remember, I've traveled all over the world by myself." "I know, but I still worry about my little girl." "You're going to a western town. Guns and cowboys, they might be rougher than you think. If I have trouble, I'll call you," Stacy said, climbing into the passenger seat of the Lincoln Navigator. It was 5:30 in the morning, so traffic was still light. Her father was able to get her to the airport within half an hour. She thanked him for the ride, kissed him on the cheek, and headed into the airport. The flight was smooth, with the plane zipping across the country without experiencing much turbulence. After landing, Stacy rented a Jaguar. The clerk at the desk asked where she was going. When she told him, he said, "A Jag. Are you sure?" "Yes, very sure." The question wasn't something Stacy thought much about until she was about an hour and a half into the drive. A towering range of ridges sat beside the road Google told her she had to take. Stacy wasn't prepared for the climb into the mountains, and the Jaguar struggled to make it up the incline. Eventually, the car made it back to level ground, but what Stacy saw wasn't comforting. The town looked abandoned by her standards. In fact, outside of a few buildings on Main Street, there was no town. A faint hint of cow manure permeated the car windows. Stacy felt her stomach turn as she reached the edge of downtown and could still smell the animal dung. She drove on and came to a long, winding road that headed deeper into the mountains. Stacy took a deep breath. "Guess I'm not in Kansas anymore," she muttered, her hands gripping the side of the steering wheel. The side of the road narrowed and the incline increased. "Oh, Lord, help me now," Stacy said. Her heart raced as the car climbed higher. "Where's the road? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." Stacy reached the top of the incline and finally saw the other side of the mountain. Breathing a sigh of relief, she was starting to regret this trip. What if the grocery store was at the top of a mountain? How was she going to get around this place? The ranch was 10 minutes down the road, around a sharp curve with drop-offs along both sides of the highway. Stacy carefully turned into the property's open gate, driving down the rocky road, and pulled around the back. She got out and opened the barn doors before driving the car into the barn. The house was an old craftsman bungalow, vintage and well-kept, but still in need of some repairs. A thin outside door blew in the wind, making a wheezing sound. Stacy got out of the car, closed the barn doors, and headed to the house. She looked around at the vast fields and wondered why her aunt had lived in this place. The land was still plowed and the grass out front had gone brown, but it was clear that someone had been by in the past few weeks to maintain the property. She didn't want it to go downhill. She figured that someone would take over the place one day. It's prime real estate, Stacy's mom had told her. Now that she was there, the place was intriguing. Wide, breathtaking swaths of land surrounded the property, and there wasn't a neighbor in sight. Stacy stared at the mountains in the backdrop. A cold wind howled through the area. She realized it was the only sound for miles around. This was what she needed, a break from her job and the hustle and bustle of the city. Enchanted by the sparseness of the place, Stacy headed to the house. Chapter 4. The first day back in Friendly had been quiet, but now the word was out that Tyler was home. All it took was for his sister, Angel, to work one shift at Hometown Heroes Cafe, the local watering hole, and the entire town, all 850 residents, knew that the prodigal son had returned. That morning, Friendly looked like a ghost town. It was Sunday, and most movement was to the various churches scattered throughout the valley. After early services, the Friendlyites headed back home for a day of rest. Tyler wasn't sure if he missed the busyness of Los Angeles, but he felt antsy and unsure of what to do. He declined his parents' invitation to church and stayed home alone in the old farmhouse. Around 10, Tyler decided it was time to get back to his old self. He got out of bed and stood in front of the mirror in his childhood bedroom and cut his long, blonde locks. Tyler started out clipping his hair, but eventually mowed it down to an inch from his scalp. He started thinking about what would come next. Who was he? Bedroom closet, Tyler located some old jeans and a red. His father told him the day he left. Tyler hadn't known what to say that day. He felt like he was making a mistake, but he also didn't know what was left for him in Friendly. Even now, more than a decade later, Tyler wasn't sure what his place would be in his hometown. He dusted off the hat and placed it on his head, smiled, and thought, okay, I look like my old self. The morning was overcast and gray. Tyler walked into the kitchen and went out back, marveling at the mountains. Ominous clouds hung over the peaks in the distance. Halloween was a few days away, but the crisp mountain air was already blowing strong, hinting toward the first snowfall. Tyler thought about the tiny cabin his grandfather had lived in 20 minutes away from his parents' home. It was a primitive space that lacked electricity or running water. Tyler had loved spending time there, high above Friendly, hunting and ice fishing with his grandpa. It's good to live the way people used to live, teaches you to be strong, his grandfather had once told him. Maybe that's what he needed. Some time alone in that old log cabin. A few days there would knock the city life out of him. The serenity of the morning was interrupted by the growl of a diesel truck cruising down his parents' road. He looked up and saw his brother's F-150 pull in front of the house. Caitlin and Peter, who were dressed in their Sunday best, climbed out of the back of the truck. "Uncle Tyler, what are you doing back there?" Peter yelled, running towards him. Tyler caught the boy in his arms and tossed him in the air. Peter squealed as he came crashing back down into his embrace. "I'm just taking in the day." "Why weren't you in church?"
They don't have churches in the city.
Bryce joked. "Really?" Peter asked.
No, Pete. Your dad is being funny. Honestly, I just didn't go, but I'll be there next week.
Looks like you're out here thinking. What are you daydreaming about?
Just trying to get back to my old ways. Something like that.
I see that you cut your hair and dumped the cargo pants.
Yeah, I can't believe I took to wearing that stuff. I'm glad to be home. Can't believe I let the city take over.
Bro, what do you think about doing some roping?
I'm up for it.
The city boy has really come home. I see you cut your hair. Let's get at it. Pa has a calf out there. We'll grab Bandit and give it a go. Come on.
The brothers headed out to the corral and warmed up, tying lariats and launching them onto poles.
You ready?
Yeah.
Tyler said, rubbing the horse's back before climbing into the saddle. Bandit was uneasy underneath him. Tyler's stomach told him that he might be a bit out of practice.
All right, let's do this.
Bryce said, opening the barn door. Bandit took off, Tyler holding on tight. As the calf ran around, Tyler flung the rope, missed, and ended up falling off of Bandit.
Ty, you all right, man?
Embarrassed but not injured, he got up and dusted himself off.
Guess I'm a little rusty.
His brother laughed as Tyler got to his feet.
Too much city, bro.
After the roping incident with his brother, Tyler endured some ribbing from his family before deciding to take a drive. "Uncle Tyler's a city boy," Caitlin said, laughing. Tyler looked at his 7-year-old niece and did his best to smile. He felt like he was a joke even to children.
I'll be back. I'm going to stop by the store to see Ben, get a look at Grandpa's old hunting cabin, and maybe stop by Ethel's. Sure, we'll miss her being around.
Be careful heading up to the cabin. The road's already closed, and we've had a lot of rainy days. Might still be icy.
Before you go, I want you to know that Ethel went peacefully. I know you regret not being at her funeral, but she knows how you felt about her.
Thanks, Mom.
We used to talk about you often. She thought you were selling yourself short by being in California.
I bet she wasn't the only one that thought that.
I won't apologize for wanting my precious son right here with us.
Jane said, kissing Tyler on his cheek. Tyler headed outside and climbed into the old Chevy. He cruised down to Main Street and reminisced about the days he and his friends spent time hanging out in town during high school. Buildings and homes were popping up on the outskirts of town, but there was still just one place to shop for food. Ben's, the tiny grocery store, remained the only game in town.
Well, I know that face. Tyler Bennington, bull rider turned superstar. Have you ever done more than commercials?
Ben said, holding his hand out.
Not really. I've come back to Friendly for good. Had enough of Hollywood.
I knew you would. No good man is going to want to stay out there. It's for big city cats and people who don't love their neighbor. Come on back to the office, we'll have a chat.
The store was quiet and empty. Tyler had thought that Ben may have had some staff there with him on Sundays, but it was still slow enough for him to run the place on his own. Friendly was a bit larger than it had been when Tyler was in high school, but not large enough to keep the market busy 7 days a week.
We just protested about one of those big box stores coming in.
Looks like you guys won.
We did. Again.
Tyler was sure Ben was close to 70, but with a nice dye job and a fresh, smiling face, he looked no older than 45. He was one of the most revered people in Friendly. Ben had once taken on a big box store that wanted to set up shop next to his business. Everyone was shocked when the judge ruled in his favor, but that victory had cemented him as a friendly Valley legend. Back at the store, where Ben pulled out a whiskey bottle and poured out 2 shots.
I gave you the Hollywood shot glass? Ironic, right? First you love Hollywood, then you hate it.
Clanking their glasses together, the men took the shots, letting the alcohol settle for a minute.
So what are your plans now?
That's a great question. I'll be working for Donnie, but I'm looking for something better. He's only got part-time work right now.
That Donnie is a hard worker. He should have 10 times the help he got, but he just keeps trucking along. We'd all do well to learn something from that man.
Tyler got the feeling Ben was indirectly talking about him. Ben, a man who had worked 7 days a week most of his life, was not short on work ethic.
I know. I seem like a lazy, misguided person, but I'm not. I've got plans.
You're a Bennington. Things are going to work out for you. You're coming from good stock. And having plans are good, but stay open. One thing that's not so good about Donnie is that he sticks with a plan even if no one wants what he's selling. Don't let him steer you in the wrong direction. Speaking of which, what type of plans do you have in mind?
Tyler couldn't come up with something on the fly. He regretted lying to his old friend. In reality, he did not know what to do.
I see. Listen, boy, this isn't something you need to rush. Why not just sit back on your laurels and wait for God to drop something in your lap? That happens more than you know.
That's good to hear, because I'm feeling pretty lost. All my friends have made something of themselves. I'm just here, existing.
That's the best thing for you to be doing. If you're alive, change will come.
The next day, Stacy spent the first half of the afternoon walking around the property, surveying the scene. Most of the land had been cleared, but the back acreage was overgrown and filled with random items. An old, rusted school bus was parked near a dilapidated shed, and a number of old tractors in various stages of disrepair sat in the field. This must have been Aunt Ethel's version of a junk drawer, Stacy thought. She knew she'd have to get the property cleared before selling it, but the thought of discarding Aunt Ethel's belongings made her feel guilty. But what other option did she have? After Stacy got a good feel for the barn and other outbuildings, she headed back inside to take inventory of what she needed to do to get the place ready before putting it on the market. A thin layer of dust sat on the edge of the furniture, which looked like it was from the late 1970s. A pale yellow couch was placed behind a wooden coffee table, and a worn recliner sat in the corner in the living room. There wasn't a television, but crochet needles and yarn were on one shelf in a cabinet with a few board games. The kitchen was small and neat, with basic tools. Stacy opened the cabinets and found 3 pots, small, medium, and large, and 3 skillets that followed the same pattern. A small china cabinet held fancy plates and bowls, but it was clear that Ethel wasn't much for entertaining. Stacy thought of her own limited cookware, utensils, and plates. She had a television and up-to-date furniture in her condo, but other than that, Ethel's home was like hers. Standing in the middle of the kitchen, Stacy realized how relaxed she felt. How long had it been since she could enjoy a few moments of quiet without work texting or emailing? She closed her eyes and smiled. Chapter 5. After visiting with Ben, Tyler climbed into his old truck and drove out past town. The road to Ethel's farm was still vacant and isolated. A smile formed as he turned down the dirt road to the craftsman-styled house. The home and barn were still in decent shape, but the year's wear and tear were showing. Ethel's place didn't have a for sale sign out front, and it didn't look like anyone had been there in a while. Tyler knew he couldn't afford something like this place, so he didn't dare to dream, but he thought it would be fun to take a tour for old time's sake. Reminisce and think about the good old days. He parked and headed towards the house. The grass was dry and brown, and it made a crunching sound underneath his boots. The old residents sat back on the property next to the big red barn and just west of the root cellar. Lost in nostalgia, the days when he was a roping madman returned. Back when this was his life, Tyler had placed second in the local rodeo, making him a superstar around town. He'd been more popular in high school than the star quarterback, but Tyler hadn't wanted the attention back then. Now he wondered why he'd shied away from all those fawning girls. He reached for the old red and white wooden door of Ethel's house. Twisting the knob, he felt the door yank out of his hand. He came face to face with a cute button nose and wide, fear-filled eyes carefully traced in eyeliner. "Who are you?" the woman shrieked.
This place used to belong to a friend of mine. Who are you?
Tyler asked, backing away from the door. "This is my land." "Who are you?" she asked, sticking her fist on her hip.
I'll answer when you do. I know you aren't from around here. What are you? Some type of squatter?
You just showed up on my property. You need to be the one answering questions.
Hi. I just moved back and I wanted to visit a few old places I used to hang out at. Didn't know you'd be here. I don't.
That's breaking and entering.
You must be from some big, dangerous city.
My city is not dangerous.
All cities are dangerous. We don't have that type of thing happening around here.
Whatever. Crime is everywhere. Of course, I'm sure you probably have a gun tucked away somewhere.
It just so happens that I left all my guns at home. But what's wrong with having guns?
Nothing. I guess this is the wild, wild west.
You know what? I just got back from LA and I'm happy to be here. Friendly is a great place. Way better than where you're from.
She laughed. I'm from Chicago, a world-class city. Have you been to Lake Michigan? How about the Gold Coast? Listen, cowboy, you ain't seen nothing until you've been on Lakeshore Drive. I could take you places you'd never want to leave.
Oh yeah, well, so could I. How about a place where you don't have to lock your doors?
I think doors do need to be locked around here. You almost walked into my house. Tyler took a deep breath. He was having a hard time keeping his voice raised while looking at her. The woman's skin was a soft, dark brown, and her hair fell in long, silky, loose curls around her apple-shaped face. Diverting his eyes, Tyler said,
Listen, I'm sorry about the door. I had no idea someone was here. Let's start over. I'm Tyler Bennington. I live down the road, and I used to work for Ethel. She was a friend of mine, and I came down here because I had a lot of good times with her. Just moved back to town, looking to reminisce, not break into your place. I'm sorry if I scared you.
Stacy took a few steps forward, her skinny heels getting caught in between the grooves in the wooden planks of the porch. Nice to meet, she stumbled off the top step. Tyler caught her in his arms.
Those boots weren't made for this place, miss.
Tyler said, looking down into a pair of warm brown eyes. He cradled the woman in his arms, carrying her to a safe spot before gently lowering her to the ground. I'm aware of that. I don't think I have any clothes that are appropriate for this place.
You wouldn't happen to be Stacy, would you?
What? How do you know that?
Ethel said that you were smart and successful, just not smart about what to wear in these parts, I suppose.
I didn't know what to expect, Stacy said, lowering her head in embarrassment.
I'm just kidding around, sweets. Don't get all pouty on me.
No, you're right. I bet you think I look like a fool.
Nah, I used to live up here. I showed up a few days ago in my city clothes, so I'm no better than you, sweets.
Stacy smiled and lifted her head, feeling her cheeks warm. Ethel mentioned me. Wow, I feel guilty because I didn't know her.
She said you were smart and successful. But this shoe thing makes me question things. Your little skinny heels was about to send you tumbling.
Okay, right. Thank you for helping me, but what are you doing?
Just looking around. Are you okay?
I'm fine, she said, allowing his fingers to brush across her elbow. Well, yes, I am Stacy Timmons, Ethel's niece. She left me the property. I do not know why, but I've come out to see the place, get it cleaned up, and sell it. Hopefully I can get that done before the holidays.
Where are you starting?
I don't know. I guess I need to get someone up here to deal with the repairs. No clue who does good work in this town.
I can help. I know how to do a lot of things, and my dad can help out with what I don't know.
That's very nice, but this place needs a lot of work. I don't think you'll have time.
I just got back into town, and I bought a ranch about 20 minutes outside of town, and I'm taking a few weeks to get settled in, so I have time. Besides, you're going to have trouble getting someone out here from the city. It's a long drive. And this is just one project. That's why us locals learn how to do this stuff.
Now I feel bad you're offering to help me after I accused you of attempting a B&E. Tyler laughed.
Technically, you weren't wrong.
Let's call it even. You're a potential burglar, and I was a meanie, but we're making amends.
I like that plan. So, you're thinking of selling? Ethel would tell me about you all the time. Said she was going to leave this place to you.
Really? You must have known her well.
Oh yeah, I used to help her out with this place. She was out here all by herself, but she loved every minute of it. I'd come by and fix things, do the heavy lifting. Great lady. I sure will miss having her around town.
I guess I was here at some point visiting, but I don't remember it.
Must have been before my time.
Is that what you think? You think I'm old?
No, miss, but I'm 30, and I would remember if someone had come here to visit. Used to be a much smaller place.
Just a babe. I've got a few years on you.
Figured as much.
Stacy's eyes widened.
Calm down. Only because you're so fancy, not because you look old.
Nice save, cowboy.
Thanks. Thanks.
So you're a rancher? Tyler hated this question. At the time, he didn't really have a job to speak of, other than the part-time ranching position he was taking up,
Like I said, I bought a ranch. I'm a rancher.
he said. His ears warmed up as the lie exited his mouth. You have a serious tan. Where are you getting all that sun around here?
Oh, well, remember, I just got back from California. Grew up here and just moved back.
What brings you back? Too much to name, Tyler thought.
Just was time to come back home. I headed out to California when I was 19. Went to try my hand at acting. Spent years playing little parts and doing voiceover, but in the end, nothing was working. So I decided to come back to a place I know and love.
I'm sorry it didn't work out for you. So you bought a ranch. Tyler considered how to answer that question. Of course, the simple and honest answer was no, but he wanted to impress this beautiful fancy lady.
Yeah, there was a good deal and I couldn't pass it up. Thought it would be nice to come back here and be close to the folks. What do you do?
Tyler said, quickly changing the subject. I work at a bank.
Bank teller.
No, I'm the vice president. Tyler felt his face turn red. A woman dressed like she wasn't a bank teller. What had he been thinking?
I'm sorry.
No problem, but note that I didn't ask if you were a ranch hand. I assume you're at the top of your field. Next time you see a woman, assume the same thing. Tyler nodded and asked,
It'll be sad to see this place change hands and move to someone outside of Ethel's family.
Don't say it like that. It makes me feel bad. But yeah, after I fix it up, I need to sell it. The place isn't in terrible shape, but it needs work.
I've heard the market is good here, but yes, you need to get some work done. Like I said, I can help.
I know what you're thinking. You don't think this city girl can hold her own up here, do you? That's a joke. You're right. I know when I need a hand. How much do you charge? Tyler held back a laugh.
Charge? No, miss, I just want to help out.
And I appreciate that, but if you do anything around here, you're getting paid. What's a reasonable price for the ranching type things that you do?
I don't want your money, miss.
It's Stacy. And I want to give you money, so you don't have a choice. I know you're too much of a gentleman to leave a girl hanging. Tyler tipped his hat.
Fine, sweets. You come up with a plan, and I'll be able to help you out.
How can I reach you? Stacy asked.
I'll just stop by.
Okay. When?
Don't worry. I'll be here when you need me.
Tyler said, flashing a big smile. Chapter 6. I made it. The mountains on the way here were unbelievable. I almost turned around and drove back to the airport, Stacy said. She called her mother after firing up the stove and cracking open a can of chicken noodle soup she'd found in the cupboard. Yeah, it's beautiful up there, but that last leg after the town is scary. Yes, you could have warned me. I didn't want to do anything to deter you from going. So how is the place? Robin asked. It needs work, but I think I can get it in order before Thanksgiving and get it on the market. Really? That's less than a month away. Yeah, this cowboy guy stopped by and volunteered. Hold on, wait a minute. Cowboy? Is he single? Mom, that's not the point. Anyway, this guy that used to work for Ethel showed up. Is he handsome? He's going to help me with. Is this cowboy tall? Mom, can you just... Does he have boots, big rimmed hat, and one of those ornate belt buckles that's probably been passed down through the generations of his family? Stacy laughed and allowed her mother to continue to construct her cowboy fantasy. This could be what you're missing. You haven't ever had a cowboy in your life. Okay, you're done. Listen to what I have planned for this place. The basement looks like it has termites and the barn needs new doors and better lighting. After those key things are done, I'll start showing the house. Are you planning on staying out there while the work is being done? Stacy sighed. She should make it a point to get back to Chicago as soon as possible, but she dreaded heading back to the office. I've been the backbone of that bank for years. It's time for Robert to step up and be the president. I've been doing it since he promoted me, and I'm tired of it. So you're just going to stay there and let him figure it out. I'll call and check in and do what I can from here, but he needs to take charge. Good for you. I've been waiting to hear you say these things for so long. Maybe a little time in the country will put things in perspective. Stacy had to admit that coming to Friendly had caused the tension that usually sat in between her shoulders to dissipate. Perhaps this little foray away from the city was exactly what she needed. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Take care of my kitties. I'll keep you posted on my progress, Stacy said before ending the call. That evening, Stacy dug through her suitcase for suitable shoes and clothes. She found some yoga pants and an old sweatshirt she wore at home when she cleaned. She changed and headed outside to survey the rest of the property. Notepad and pen in hand, Stacy jotted down things that needed to be done. Her aunt had sold the yaks before she'd taken ill, but the property still smelled like animals. The ominous gray skies showed that winter would move in soon, so that probably left 2 or 3 weeks for improvements on the outbuildings. Jotting down notes, Stacy felt a bit overwhelmed. Could she really pull this place together and sell it before Thanksgiving? While she contemplated her future, Stacy tidied up, scrubbing the bathroom and kitchen while considering what she wanted done to the house. Each time she wrote something on her outline, she thought about Tyler. She wasn't into the cowboy type, but her cheeks warmed each time she thought about how it felt to look up into the face of the tall, handsome man. Broad shoulders stretched the shirt that was just a tad bit too tight, revealing his muscles underneath. When she squirmed out of his arms, he'd put a gentle hand on the small of her back, helping to steady her. His arms had been strong, but he showed great care in helping her get back on her feet. "Okay, pull yourself together," she said, heading to the kitchen. As she cleaned the tea kettle, staring out the window, she remembered watching Tyler walk down the driveway and hop in his truck. She caught herself smiling as she envisioned him swaggering back to his vehicle. Tyler's arms had felt warm and safe when he caught her. She watched him drive away, wishing that she knew exactly when he'd be back. After a cup of tea, Stacy headed to bed. Her aunt's house had 2 bedrooms. Out of respect, Stacy climbed into the twin bed in the guest room and dozed off around 9 that evening. Her dreams were filled with sweet cowboy fantasies. Tyler spent the evening thinking about the pretty lady at Ethel's house. She'd been just the right level of feisty, quick-witted, and successful. Maybe she wouldn't sell the place? Don't be silly, Tyler thought, pushing the idea out of his head. She lives in Chicago. No one that loves Chicago would leave it for friendly. Tyler turned his thoughts to the next day. He would head to Donnie's ranch in the morning to start the part-time job his friend had been kind enough to give him. It was sad to be going back to one of the jobs he'd had in high school. Donnie's dad had owned the place at that time. Tyler was happy to have the work, but he wasn't looking forward to seeing the secretary of the company, Marissa. Tyler and Marissa had been high school sweethearts. Everyone had been sure they'd marry soon after graduation, but Tyler had taken his uncle up on an offer to work on his farm back east.
It'll give us money to start our lives,
He told Marissa, wiping the tears from her cheeks the day he left. At the end of the summer, his uncle had offered him 3 more months of work. Tyler remembered breaking the news to Marissa. She'd been cool and calm, telling him it was fine. She'd moved in with friends near the community college and was taking classes. Tyler had been taken aback. The community college was 2 hours away. Marissa loved Friendly. When had she planned to move and take classes?
I didn't know that was on your agenda.
Tyler said during one of their phone conversations, which were getting shorter and shorter each time they talked.
Just want to do some things before we get married. Besides, I didn't know going back east was on your agenda,
She said. Her voice was cool and calm. It had been a fair point. Why not do some of the things they wouldn't be able to do once they were settled down? He'd be working full-time with his dad, and Marissa would be making the home a special place for them and their future children.
You're right. Have fun, babe.
Tyler headed home 6 months later, ready to propose marriage to Marissa. During the drive home, he planned out their future in his head. They'd get a ranch, add cattle as they went along, have a few kids, and live happily ever after. He was so excited to see Marissa when he parked in front of the address where he'd sent letters over the past few months. A girl he didn't know opened the door of the duplex. "You must be Tyler," she said, her eyes wide.
That's right. May I speak with Marissa?
The girl waited a moment before saying, "I knew this would happen. Here's the thing. She doesn't live here. She was just using my address for the letters, but Marissa moved back to that tiny little town up in the mountains. You'll catch up with her soon."
Is she okay?
The girl nodded slowly and said, "Better than okay." Tyler did eventually catch up with Marissa. By the time he saw her at the local market, his parents had broken the news to him. She tried to hide the huge rock she had on her finger underneath the bag of produce she was holding. She'd married a doctor who lived just outside of Friendly. All the letters he and Marissa had exchanged while he was working hard to save money for their future had been full of lies. She'd stood before him with a small, adorable bulge poking out over the top of her jeans. Tyler had tried to make eye contact with her, but she avoided his gaze, tears running down her face as she told him.
I didn't want to dear John you.
After mourning the loss of the relationship, Tyler had packed up his truck and headed west. Chapter 7. The next morning, Tyler was at Donnie's ranch at 5 before 7. The air was crisp, and a sharp wind blew hard and fast over the landscape. Donnie was standing outside of the trailer that served as his
You picked a bad day to start.
Donnie said, handing Tyler a mug of coffee.
Thanks for the coffee and good morning to you too. So, what do you want me to do?
Donnie pointed his head in the trailer's direction and said,
Come inside.
the two men headed inside. Tyler was surprised by how sleek the trailer was. Clearly, his old friend was doing well.
This looks amazing. Is this all from your ranch?
Nope. That's why I want us to talk before you get started. It's been a long time. I want to find out what your goals are and see what position lines up best with your talents. We have so many opportunities here, but I want to make sure we find the right fit for you.
Tyler felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. Was this a job interview? His old friend from high school sounded like a used car salesman.
Donnie, I just need a hand up right now. Whatever you've got that needs doing, I'm here to help.
That's great. But I can't help but wonder why you're here and not at Bennington Ranch.
That's my dad's thing. I don't know that I want to work with him, but I want to learn as much about the business as possible. Who knows? Maybe one day Bryce will want to work with me.
You understand we are basically the competition for your father, right?
Tyler had never thought of it that way. Everyone in Friendly could have a piece of the pie, right? There was no reason to think of neighbors as competitors.
Donnie, what's going on here?
You know what? Let's just drop that for a little while.
Yeah, let's do that.
Tyler said, feeling annoyed.
So, what's life like for you? I guess the acting thing didn't work out, huh?
No, if it had, I wouldn't be here.
Tyler said, wondering why Donnie felt the need to state the obvious. They were sitting in the office drinking thick, bitter coffee. Why not get going with the work?
Well, there's always ranching. That's a way to get a living out of this place. You probably can get some land for cheap. Have you thought about that?
Maybe. I want to get settled in first.
Tyler said, not wanting to reveal his financial situation to Donnie. Something felt off about this conversation.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
The time for rodeos and games is over. You got to get a career going here, and dates won't come easily if you don't have yourself together. This is a small town, but the women have big dreams.
Tyler nodded, half listening to Donnie's advice. The truth of the matter was that Tyler didn't want to date. He'd had enough of that in California.
I'm all set on dating for now. I just want to start over fresh and get my life together here in Friendly.
Sounds like a good plan. How are you getting settled in?
Donnie's eyebrows creased.
Ethel. I don't remember an Ethel. Was she in our class?
No, Donnie, she wasn't.
Tyler said, shaking his head.
Ethel Barney, the yak farmer on the outskirts of town. The one I worked for in high school.
The old lady.
Yes, Donnie, she was older. Something we all will be someday if we're lucky.
No, she wasn't exactly in my social circle.
Tyler let the sting of the words pass. Ethel had been his friend, and he regretted missing her funeral. If he'd come home just 3 weeks before, he could have said a proper goodbye.
Her niece is in town fixing up the property.
Oh yeah? You thinking about making an offer?
Tyler lied, instantly feeling guilty.
I'm going to help the niece clean things up. She's a big city girl, knows nothing about this part of the world. She showed up in a pair of those high-heeled shoes. You know, the ones with the skinny heels?
Yeah, my wife has some of those, so she's going to sell the place.
Yeah, but there's some work that needs to be done. I'll probably head over there after this.
Donnie smiled and arched his eyebrows.
Is she cute?
Why does that matter?
It doesn't, but your face is red.
What? Come on, Donnie.
I think you're kind of smitten. What else you know about this girl?
Don't be silly. I'm just trying to help her out. She's got an old house and a barn she's got to take care of. She's from Chicago, and she's a suit, so there's no way she's going to be able to handle all that stuff.
A suit? Power exec or what?
She's the vice president of a bank.
Sounds like a catch. A guy with movie star looks could probably convince her to stay.
I'm just helping her out. For Ethel.
Okay, well, real estate is going up around here. The sale will probably be great for her. If you choose to buy, it's going to cost, so don't fix it up too well.
I want her to get top dollar. She could pull in good money the way it is, but she'll get even more if it is in better shape.
It would be nice if you could buy Ethel's old place. I remember her now. She'd be happy seeing it go to someone who loved the yaks as much as she did. You could get the place back up and going again.
Tyler cringed at the fact that there was no way he could buy anything. He was 30 years old and didn't have any savings or even a job to speak of.
I'm still considering my next move.
I bet it involves the mystery girl at the yak ranch.
Hey, if you don't need me today, I can go and help her. Maybe I can be on call. What do you think?
Donnie sat his coffee cup down.
Sure. That works for me.
Tyler climbed into the truck, disturbed by what he'd just experienced with Donnie. The conversation they'd had about work felt stilted, like they were strangers. He'd offered Tyler part-time work, but now it seemed like Donnie was vetting him for a job. Maybe he would ask his dad for work, Tyler thought, as he headed to Ethel's place. Stacy pulled the door open before Tyler could knock. I know how you feel about doors, so I figured I'd open it for you, Stacy said, a cute smirk on her face.
Build bridges, not walls.
Stacy laughed and said, "Thank you for coming. I have so much to do."
Okay, what's on the agenda?
The basement. It's a mess. There are tons of things down there, and I think there might be termite damage.
Yeah, Ethel had problems with them years ago. We'll just take all that old wood out. My dad and I can reframe that bathroom down there.
Wow. I don't speak that language, so I'm going to leave that in your hands.
Okay, let me grab some things from my truck, and I'll get started.
Wait, have you had breakfast?
No, but I rarely have anything in the morning.
I had a feeling you'd show up today, and I knew you would be starving. Head to the kitchen? Tyler obeyed. A plate of bacon, eggs, and toast awaited him.
Is this all for me?
A man needs fuel.
That's true. I'm surprised you didn't bring your guy to help. This is an enormous project.
Stacy rolls solo. I've been able to get things done without a man,
I can't believe someone like you is unattached.
Tyler said in between bites. Well, Mr. Breaking and Entering, I know how to handle myself. I won't apologize for that. What are we working on first? Tyler crinkled his brow.
Us.
Yes, I'm not going to just sit around and watch you do all the work.
This is going to be hard work.
I know, but I can handle it.
Okay, well, we're going to demolish the walls in the basement and reframe it. After we knock down the walls and remove everything, we'll need wallboard. It'll probably take most of the week to do that if I work on it every day.
Don't forget about my hands. We have 4 hands, not 2. Tyler smiled and diverted his eyes. Looking up into her face made him blush.
All right, city girl, maybe we can finish it in less time. 2 people will make a difference.
Chapter 8. Tyler and Stacy were able to knock down the walls that had termite damage and visit the hardware store before ending their work for the day.
You really surprised me, city girl.
Tyler said, "Yeah."
I guess I better get back over here tomorrow or you'll finish everything without me.
He winked, causing Stacy to blush. Don't lock eyes with him, she thought, diverting her gaze to the floor and smiling. Be here bright and early, or else I won't let you have any fun. A pregnant pause filled the space between them. Stacy wondered if it would be strange if she asked for a hug. Yes, she decided it would be strange.
Okay, well, I might have to stop by a friend's place in the morning, but I'll be here by the afternoon.
Stacy looked up at Tyler. He stepped closer, and she met his gaze. The two locked eyes and froze for a few minutes. Stacy wasn't sure what to think. Her lips parted slightly, and she moved closer, feeling like she was floating. She tilted her head and began to close her eyes.
I better get going,
Tyler said, turning away from her. Oh my gosh, I thought he was going to kiss me, she thought. What's gotten into me? Yes, you better get going. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Don't worry. I will definitely come by tomorrow. I promise.
Tyler stumbled on his way to the truck. What just happened, he wondered. During the drive home, he considered what Stacy had been thinking as they stood just a few inches apart. For a moment, he thought she was preparing for him to kiss her. Tyler wasn't sure what to think about this beautiful stranger, but she was only in town for a limited time.
She won't be here for long. Don't fall for her,
Tyler told himself. His mother had a pot of potato and leek soup along with homemade sourdough bread waiting on the stove when he got home. He thanked her for the meal, had 2 bowls of soup and several slices of bread before heading into the basement.
What are you working on?
Tyler asked his father.
Just sanding this desk. I'll probably list it in the next few weeks. How did things go at Donnie's?
I'm not really sure. How's Donnie been lately? Do you see him much?
He's okay, I guess. Every now and then I see him in town, but he's a busy man. So am I.
He seems to think that you're in competition with him.
Well, that's one way to look at it. I have a small but adequate outfit. You and Bryce can take it to the next level if you like, but I've never wanted to be corporate. That's part of the reason I do this. Multiple streams of income keep me from depending on any one thing.
That's good. Donnie tried to make it seem like me working for him would be betraying you.
It's not, but if you prefer to be here, we can always make room. If you want to make a go at something else, we'll support you in that too. I can give you a loan or a job, whatever you need to get on your feet. No matter which way you want to go, I think it's time for you to get something started. So what's it going to be?
Tyler had spent hours thinking about different things he could do to improve his life. He hadn't acquired any new skills in California, and college wasn't really his thing. He wanted to work the land.
I want to be like you, Dad. I want to have a successful business, a happy wife, and something to give to my kids. I want to look at my son and be able to offer him a job when he needs it.
Okay, that's going to cost some money. Do you have any savings?
Tyler shook his head. As a child, he'd always imagined owning a ranch, just like his father. He'd never really given thought to the fact that he'd need money to purchase the land, or that idea that it might be difficult to secure a place above the valley. When he was younger, it just seemed like a foregone conclusion.
Dad, I hate to admit this, but I don't have much money at all. If you and Mom threw me out, I would be homeless.
All right. Well, you're going to need more than this speculative ranch hand job. You've got to make enough to get a mortgage. Like I said, your brother and I can make room for you in the business, but it won't pay much for a while.
I'm willing to work.
Great. Here's what I'm thinking. Anything is good to get started. There are a few low-paying jobs around town. Take anything you can find. You can stay here as long as you like. But I'll want to see some progress within a few weeks. You can work around here for room and board until you can get a place of your own.
Thanks, Dad. That means a lot.
Yep. Now, a few things you should know. Things have changed. You may not get into ranching at the level I'm at for a long time. Your grandpa wanted to get out early, so I was lucky. But I had you kids when I was young, so I'm not stopping anytime soon. My pop was 42 when I was born. So he was ready to ease me into the business when I turned 18. Right now I've got your brother with me, and while there's always room for you, and Angel too, it won't be a ton of money. But you're my boy. We'll always have a spot for you. It just might take longer for you to get money saved up for a mortgage.
Tyler admired his dad and loved the idea of being close to him, but working for the man wasn't something he wanted to do. His dad was tough and strong and wonderful, but Tyler wanted to make his own way. He'd work for room and board while he lived there, but getting his own ranch was his long-term goal.
That's very generous, Dad. I'm going to pick up all the work I can around town. Right now, I'm doing a little work for Ethel's niece.
Yeah, I heard a bit about that. She's here to fix up that place and sell it.
Yep, she's a city girl, but she's got some spunk. I was surprised that she wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty. We're demoing that bathroom in Ethel's basement tomorrow.
We? Or just you?
She insists on helping.
Really? That's surprising.
Yes. She was firm about it.
That's interesting. Is that where you've been all day?
Tyler shoved his hands in his pockets.
Yeah, she needs to get back to her life as soon as possible.
Tyler said, fighting to control the smile from spreading across his face.
Oh, I see. Was it all work and no play?
We were working, but she did feed me breakfast.
Is she cute?
Dad.
What? That's a normal question and your face is red, so I figured I ask.
Tyler laughed and said,
Yeah, she's real cute.
And she's going to help out with the demo.
That's what she says.
If she's cute and willing to swing a sledgehammer, don't let her get away.
That night, Tyler dreamed he had a ranch on the north end of town with 200 head of cattle. In his dream, he was rounding up the cattle when Stacy appeared in the doorway of their house, dressed in a bright yellow summer dress that accentuated her curvy figure. Her eyes were bright and happy as she stepped out into a field of daisies and called his name. A repetitive beeping interrupted his dream. Tyler grabbed his phone off the nightstand by his bed, turned off the alarm, and closed his eyes. He wanted to go back to his dream. When the alarm went off 10 minutes later, he realized resistance was useless. It was time to get the day started. After a quick shower, Tyler got dressed and headed to the kitchen.
You're up early.
His mother said. She was standing in front of a cutting board and sipping a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I gotta work.
Tyler said while he scanned the kitchen for something he could grab and take with him.
There are applesauce muffins in the bread box if you're in a hurry.
Thanks, Mom. I'll grab a few of those.
Tyler said as he filled a thermos with coffee.
That's great. Love you. Have a good day.
Love you too, Mom.
Tyler kissed his mother on the forehead before sticking a few muffins in a Ziploc bag and rushing out the door. He arrived at Ethel's place about 20 minutes later. Stacy was standing in the doorway, reminding Tyler of his dream. The only difference was she was dressed in sweats and her hair was pulled back into a ponytail. I bet you didn't have breakfast again.
I told you I can work without food, but I ate a little before I left home.
You need more than a little. You know the drill, Stacy said, pointing toward the kitchen. The applesauce muffins hadn't filled Tyler up, so he gladly headed to the kitchen. After breakfast, he grabbed 2 sledgehammers he loaded into the truck the night before, and they headed into the basement.
This thing is heavy. You sure you're up for this?
Give it here, Stacy said, taking one of the sledgehammers. Her grasp was steady and measured.
Impressive. Ready.
We're just going to knock down the wall.
That's right. If you're mad about anything, this is the time to get that frustration out.
I like that idea. That wall is my job. Let's take it out. The two worked in tandem. Tyler smashed most of the wall, but Stacy's help moved the project along. Around noon, they took a short break and ended the day of work around 3.
I think we've done enough for the day.
Tyler said while gathering his tools and sledgehammers. Agreed. I'm making spaghetti for dinner. Would you like to stay?
Only if you let me help cook.
The Cowboy cooks.
You sledgehammer walls.
Chapter 9. Tyler chopped garlic and onions while Stacy made the sauce with canned tomatoes she'd found in the kitchen cupboard.
So you cook, aren't afraid to get your hands dirty, and you're a suit, but you're single.
Yes, I have standards.
Like what?
It's kind of extensive. I have a spreadsheet that has all the criteria a man needs to meet before I will date him. Ideally, I limit dates to those who can score between 100 and 90%.
Oh yeah? How much money does he have to make?
There aren't any income requirements. He just needs to have some type of employment. Tyler, suddenly curious, said,
What else is included in your spreadsheet?
I have 20 simple questions I ask myself. They're built around the person's history, current situation, and compatibility.
Okay, shoot. What do you have on this list?
First question. What do you want?
In what way?
Anyway, what do you want?
I want to make a life here in Friendly. Get married, have some kids, manage my land well, and be close to my family.
Not bad. Cowboy, you earned 5 out of 5 points for that question. Tyler laughed.
I didn't say anything groundbreaking. I'm sure a million guys have the same story about what they want.
Maybe, but the last guy I asked said, I don't know, and he wasn't the only one to say that. More often than not, guys don't have an answer when I ask that question.
Interesting. Hey, this is kind of fun. What's next?
Are your parents happily married?
Yes, but why?
Because my parents have been happily married for 45 years, and I think I'll have more in common with someone whose parents are still together.
That's like some type of discrimination, isn't it?
No, here's the catch. I'll still date a guy whose parents aren't together, and if the parents are unhappily married, he gets fewer points than a man whose parents are divorced and happy.
Okay, so you're just looking for the best fit there. I get it. What's next?
Do you own guns? I'll give you the third one too. Have you ever been hunting?
The first one is a trick question. You know I have guns, and of course I've been hunting.
Perfect. 100%.
You want those things.
Yes, being able to protect and hunt are valuable skills. What if the zombie apocalypse breaks out? I want a man who will hunt and shoot the zombies.
Wow, you're really surprising me here. No latte requirement on this list.
Stacy laughed. No, just because I am a little fancy doesn't mean I don't appreciate a down-to-earth guy.
This is cool. One more.
Would you mind if your wife took a solo getaway?
Only if it was to meet another guy.
You wouldn't mind at all.
No, why would I? She needs me time.
Okay, now I'm the one who is surprised. You don't want your wife chained to the kitchen, churning butter, and having dinner on the table every night.
Well, that depends on if I let her out of the basement for the day.
A knock at the door interrupted their laughter. I wonder who's at the door, Stacy asked as they both moved toward the front room.
It's my dad.
Tyler said, spotting his father's truck out front. Oh, nice. I look forward to meeting him. They headed for the door. Tyler stood next to Stacy as they watched his dad make his way to the porch. She was close enough for him to feel the warmth from her body. He wondered what she would do if he slipped his arm around her shoulder.
Hey, Dad. What's up?
Tyler asked after opening the door.
Hey, son and Ethel's niece.
Bert said, holding up a hand and giving them a wave. Hi, Tyler's dad. Please come in.
Hello, miss. I'm Bert.
I'm Stacy. A pleasure to meet you, she said, extending her hand and engaging in a firm shake with Bert.
It's nice to meet you, too. Smells good in here.
Thanks. We just made spaghetti.
You got this knucklehead to help you.
Bert said, playfully slugging his son in the arm. He chopped all the veggies. Bert looked at Tyler with one eyebrow raised.
What a pleasant surprise. Now I know we can count on him to cook a few meals at home. Speaking of which, how much work did you get done on the property? Thought you'd be out in the barn working. Speaking of which, how much work did you get done on the property? Thought you'd be out in the barn working.
I guess I'm distracting you, Stacy said.
No, it's totally fine. Dinner was great, and it's been fun to talk. Dad, she's got a dating spreadsheet, and it's got good stuff on it. The lady is full of surprises.
So are you, Stacy said, locking eyes with Tyler for a moment.
Your mom was getting worried about you, so she told me to come by to see if I could lend a hand.
Bert turned to Stacy and said,
I know you're eager to sell this place and get back to Chicago.
I have to go back sometime, but I don't want to rush the work. Ty has been kind enough to help me out.
Of course. It's not a problem at all. I could use the practice on some of this stuff.
You're so talented. I wish I had skills like that.
You were awesome with that sledgehammer today.
Thanks, but you did all the hard work, and I'm clumsy, so I had to be extra careful.
Doesn't matter. I'll keep you safe.
The two were facing each other now. Bert cleared his throat.
Oh, I probably should be getting going. I'm sure you want to unwind after all that work.
Of course. I've taken up so much of your time,
It's great of you to be so helpful, Ty.
Bert said, winking at his son.
Maybe I'll come over tomorrow and help with the barn.
I appreciate that, Mr. Bennington.
It's Bert. My papa was Mr. Bennington. Say, son, did you invite Stacy over tonight?
Bert turned to Stacy.
We're having a little Halloween get-together. We're a few days early, but no need for you to be celebrating all alone.
Do I finally get to see your ranch, Stacy asked Tyler. Bert opened his mouth, but Tyler spoke before he could say anything.
I spend the holidays with my family. I think my sister and brother will be there with their families. We usually have a meal, watch scary movies, and hand out candy.
Oh, that sounds like a family get-together. I don't want to intrude.
Our family has an open-door policy. We'd love to have you over, Stacy.
Chapter 10. Stacy was going to follow Tyler and his dad to their house, but both men suggested she ride with Tyler.
He'll make sure that you make it back home.
Bert told her. Stacy hesitated but decided it made sense. She changed into a thin beige sweater and a pair of jeans. Her nerves were frayed on the drive. Tyler tried to make small talk, but Stacy only gave short answers to his questions. What am I doing? I barely know this man, she thought, but she couldn't deny that she felt safe and cared for in his presence. When they pulled in front of his house, Tyler parked and rushed around to the passenger side of the truck.
Let get the door for you,
he said, gently taking her hand and helping her get safely to the ground. Stacy liked the way it felt to have her hand in his, with one gently placed on her back and the other carefully gripping her palm. Stacy took her time climbing out of the truck. I could hold his hand all day, she thought. Tyler's family was gathered in front of the foyer as they entered the house. 4 kids and 5 adults smiled at Stacy. One of the little girls was dressed up like a princess. The other 3 kids had costumes Stacy couldn't identify at first glance.
Welcome. We're the Bennington bunch.
Tyler's mom said, walking over to Stacy with a big smile on her face. She was wearing a long flowing skirt and a blue wrap-around blouse that matched her eyes. Thank you. I hope it's okay that I'm here.
Oh, it's more than okay. I'm Tyler's mom, Jane. And that's his sister Angel and her family. Doug is her husband and Cassie and Lynn are her girls.
Jane pointed to each family member as she named them.
That's Bryce, Tyler's brother and his family. Eliana is his wife and Peter and Caitlin are their little darlings.
It's a pleasure to meet all of you, Stacy said, feeling a little overwhelmed.
I hope you like scary movies.
Angel said, coming over to Stacy and looping her arm through hers.
We need to finish up a few things in the kitchen, and then we'll be ready. Would you like to join us, Stacy?
Before Stacy could answer, Angel gently pulled her along and said,
Of course she would. Let's go, ladies.
Did you just move here? Cassie asked, tagging along behind them. Stacy looked back at the little girl, smiled, and said, No, I'm just visiting. How can you be Uncle Tyler's girlfriend if you don't live here?
Angel.
Tyler yelled from the foyer.
Distance can be overcome.
Angel said, loud enough for Tyler to hear. In the kitchen, the women made Chex Mix, cookies, and a lemon meringue pie. Stacy and Angel chatted about their lives while answering various questions from the three little girls. Jane interjected a few times, but she was focused on making sure all the dishes came out perfect. After the food was done, everyone gathered in the family room and watched Garfield's Halloween adventure.
We're keeping a G for the kids.
Tyler whispered in Stacy's ear. They were sitting close on an oversized couch. His leg was pushed up against hers and his arm stretched along the back of the couch. Now and then Stacy felt his hand touch her shoulder, but he kept pulling it away. Her heart beat a little faster each time he touched her. After the movie and a round of the card game war, Stacy got ready to head home. Thanks for having me over, she said to Jane and Bert.
Of course. You can come here if you need anything. We'd love to help however we can.
Before they left, Tyler slipped a Carhartt jacket over her shoulders.
It'll be chilly out tonight.
Thanks, Stacy said, pulling the coat tight across her body. I really appreciate all the hospitality.
It's nothing. You're nice. You deserve it.
Will I see you tomorrow?
Yeah, I have to make a stop in the morning, but yes, I promise. That was almost like a date. I drove, she met the family. There were definitely date-like things there, right?
Tyler thought as he drove home after dropping Stacy off. The quick and awkward goodbye probably sent the wrong message, but he needed to get off her porch as soon as possible. Standing in front of him in his Carhartt jacket, she looked so delicate and innocent. He felt like she wanted to talk and might even invite him in, but Tyler thought that might be a bad idea. He'd just arrived back in town, didn't really have a job, and he was extremely attracted to Stacy. Being alone with her after an enjoyable evening might lead to something neither one of them was ready for. Instead, he drove home, parked in front of his parents' house, stood on the front porch and stared out at the stars. Maybe one day he would have his own place underneath these same stars, and maybe, just maybe, Stacy would be with him. Tyler shook his head at the absurdity of his wishes.
She's here for a limited time only, and you don't have anything to offer.
He thought before heading inside. Tyler didn't sleep well again that night. He tossed and turned, thinking about where he could secure a high-paying job at a ranch. After all, he'd already told Stacy he had both. Around 5 a.m., he got up and headed to the kitchen, brewed a pot of coffee, and stewed over his options. Donnie had offered him work, but something felt off with that situation. Even so, it would bring money in, and with only $300 left in his small stash, he needed more cash fast.
You look worried.
His father said, joining him at the kitchen table at 5:30.
Dad, I need money. I'm having a hard time figuring things out.
Is this about Stacy?
No, I need a job. Well, a career, actually.
Ah. This is about Stacy. Son, just be honest. Why did you tell her you had a ranch?
Tyler shook his head.
Did you see her?
Yeah, but...
Did you talk to her? She's something special, and I'm embarrassed about where I am in life.
Okay, I get it. So, here's a plan. Go back to Donnie's and take up whatever work he has for you. Next, stop by Ben's and ask if you can do some stocking in the off hours, so you don't run into her when she goes shopping. You can save for a place and get yourself back on your feet.
Tyler sighed.
I don't even know why I care. She'd never go for a guy like me, and she's a city girl.
Don't start getting all down on yourself. If you told her the truth, I bet she wouldn't care. But since you're worried about your pride, just start getting yourself together.
Tyler took his dad's advice and stopped by the grocery store that morning. Ben was straightening the shelves when he showed up.
Hey, I have a proposal.
Okay, what is it?
I need work, Ben. I don't expect much, but can I do some night stocking for you?
Night stocking? Yeah, I guess I could use some of that. Let's start small. My budget is tight, but how about 10 to midnight, Friday, Sunday?
It was only 6 hours, but better than nothing.
Okay, I'll be here Friday.
Good. How are things going over at Donnie's?
Tyler considered how to answer that question.
I'm not sure. I'll let you know on Friday.
After securing a part-time position at Ben's, he headed to Donnie's. This morning, he was ready for all the questions. He was going to be straight with his friend and tell him to cut the small talk. Tyler pulled into the lot and parked next to Donnie's truck. He headed to the office, but Donnie stepped out before he reached the building.
Hey, buddy. Let's head outside for a moment.
Donnie gently pushed Tyler back onto the porch.
What's going on, man? You're being so weird.
Tyler, you see that Mercedes over there?
Yeah, what about it?
My sister's here.
Marissa. Okay, all of that was a long time ago. I don't care about any of it now.
I know we've never talked about it, but it's time.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I tried to get Marissa to break it to you while you were gone, but she refused. Our parents love you, so they were not in favor of the wedding, but we knew we had to come to terms with things after they eloped. It was wrong, and I wish she'd handled it differently.
Tyler shook his head.
You don't have anything to be sorry about? It was between Marissa and me, and we were young. Probably shouldn't have been planning such major life experiences at that age.
Yeah, but it still stinks.
That's the past. Let's talk about what's happening now. What type of work do you have for me? I'm ready to get started.
I have an assignment I need completed that has nothing to do with ranching. I have an idea that will help improve Friendly, and I need your help.
Okay. Anything.
I'm going to run for county commissioner.
Oh, nice. Why?
Because we want to be able to control our own destiny. We're in the middle of a long-running drought, and it's made me realize that we need to secure our water rights.
That's a great idea. How can I help?
I'm going to get to that. But first, let's talk a bit more about what I have in mind.
Donnie, I'm your friend. You don't have to be so cagey with me, and we can go inside. I'll say hi to Marissa, and that will be that.
Donnie folded his arms and stood still for a moment, staring out past the parking lot.
Okay, let's go in. But prepare yourself. I think this might be harder than you think.
Tyler followed Donnie into the office. Marissa was sitting at a desk, pecking away on a laptop. She was still beautiful, but covered in a layer of makeup she didn't need it. Marissa's long legs were crossed at the knee with one foot dangling impatiently. A habit Tyler remembered from high school.
Hey, Marissa, how are you?
She looked up from the computer as if she hadn't heard them come in.
Tyler. Oh man, it's good to see you. I'm great. How are you?
Good. Finally back home.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, Donnie told me you're having some trouble getting things going for yourself. I'm so glad we can help. What type of skills are you bringing to the table?
Another weird pitch about his skills. Tyler had grown up with these two. He'd been Marissa's boyfriend throughout high school. Why were they treating him this way?
What skills do you need?
Oh, I see. You're not sure. We have an aptitude test you can take. I have to run soon, but I'll try to help you find out what you're capable of handling one of these days.
Tyler nodded and said,
You know, that would be great. But I thought you guys needed help. I have a job, so if you guys don't need me, that's okay.
A job? Where?
Marissa asked, her eyes narrowing.
Out at Ethel's. I'm getting the place in order. Might even buy it. Don't know yet, but maybe.
Marissa flipped her bangs out of her eyes.
Well, that's not going to last forever. Just let us know if you need anything. Sometimes I need the kids picked up from school or shopping done. I'd pay you handsomely,
She said, winking at Tyler. Tyler tried to smile before turning to leave.
Hey, before you go, I'm looking for a campaign manager. Thought I'd give you a shot. What do you think?
Donnie said. Tyler wanted to leave, but curiosity got the better of him. A campaign manager probably made good money, right?
I'd be willing to talk more about it. How about we grab breakfast at the diner one morning?
A smile spread across Donnie's face.
Great. We'll set something up.
Sure. I'll be there. See both of you later.
Chapter 11. Tyler stopped by the hardware store and picked up wallboard for the basement and made it to Ethel's around 8:30. He knocked and heard Stacy yell for him to come in. She was standing on a chair painting the edging in the kitchen when he arrived. Tyler was briefly distracted by her form-fitting red t-shirt.
Whoa, what are you doing up there? I'm here. Get off that chair before you fall.
Tyler said, rushing over to Stacy. I can handle myself, Stacy laughed while allowing Tyler to take her hand and help her down off the chair.
What about those fancy fingernails you've got? Looks like you chipped one.
Fingernails or not, I've got work to do. Once I get back to Chicago, I'll get things in order. In the meantime, I'm just going to have to deal with being unkept. Tyler shook his head.
There's nothing unkept about you, sweets.
She smiled and climbed off the chair, holding tight to Tyler's hand as he helped her down.
Today we're putting in the wallboard downstairs, so I hope you ate your Wheaties.
Stacy flexed her arms. Tyler and Stacy worked throughout the morning and afternoon. By 2, they had several pieces of wallboard in place.
I think it's time for a break. Want to take a few minutes to rest?
If you eventually feed me, yes.
Deal. There's a cool place on the edge of town called Hometown Heroes. It's the only full-service restaurant we have here. We'll grab a bite, but before we do that, I want to show you something. How you feel about the mountains?
I think they're pretty. The leaves were beautiful when I was driving up, but these boots were not made for walking uphill, Stacy said, holding up a tennis shoe-clad foot.
I know a beautiful place.
Cowboy, it's cold out there, and I'm not going anywhere in the wilderness. Right now, I need a non-fat latte with a dollop of whipped cream on top. Can you help me out with that?
You're one sassy mama, aren't you? Get in the truck. I'll try to find you a latte, but no promises.
They headed towards town, chatting along the way. So why did you go to Hollywood?
That's a great question. I was having a hard time and decided to leave town.
Sounds like you had a bad breakup.
Yeah, a breakup that changed the way I thought my life was going to go. I'd been in Iowa, working with my uncle, making money to come back and move forward with my life. Turns out, life moved on without me, and I was lost. So, I hung around here for a while and eventually left. About a year or so before I went to Iowa, I'd run into this guy. Said he was a movie agent. I fixed his car for him, and he gave me his card. Told me he'd make me a movie star. You're probably thinking, what a dumb hick, but I wasn't thinking right when I hit the road.
No, I think that you were brave to take a chance like that. Did the guy become your agent?
Not even close. I showed up at the address, which was a rundown, small place next to a coffee shop. The guy was a barista. I was so mad. I charged in there and said, I'm here about auditioning for something.
What did he say?
He was terrified and said, okay, well, I'll see what I can do. Maybe set up some photo shoots or something. Turns out he'd worked on a few movie sets in the past.
Did he have any real connections?
Nope. He pretended like he did. I said, oh yeah, so you're an executive? Come on, man, tell me the truth. That's when he started making excuses. I got so angry because I'd uprooted my life. And there was no way I could just come back here. I had to try to make it, even though I hated Lay from the moment I got there. It was just one of those things where I had to prove I could make it.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but look at you now. You're back. You've got a ranch, which I'd love to see, and you've overcome obstacles to get to this point in your life. Be proud of yourself. Tyler's ears warmed up. He felt guilty for lying to Stacy. What would she think of him if she knew that he lived with his parents and had nothing of his own? Tyler? Are you okay?
Yeah, just getting hungry. Let's eat.
This place looks different from what I expected.
Kind of looks like a dive, huh? What it lacks in attractiveness, it makes up for in taste. Come on in. I'll show you around the menu.
Tyler said, taking Stacy's hand and leading her to the front door of the restaurant. The diner had been around since the late 1950s when Jim Keller had opened it. After coming home from the Korean War, he'd wanted something he could call his own. Within a few months of returning to Friendly, Jim opened Hometown Heroes Cafe. This is quaint. I like it, Stacy said, sliding into a booth along the back wall.
I spent a lot of time here over the years. The chicken fried steak is fantastic.
Stacy picked up the laminated placard on the table that served as the menu. As she looked over the offerings, people stopped by their table and introduced themselves or said hi. A woman with a thick reddish-brown ponytail running down her back came to the table. Hey, Tyler, I heard you were back in town. Good to see you.
Thanks, Jordan. Stacy.
Tyler said, turning to her.
This is Jordan.
You must be Ethel's niece, Jordan said, giving Stacy a big smile. For travels fast around here. What can I get for you two? I'd love a latte, but I didn't see that on the menu, Stacy said, grinning and shrugging her shoulders.
She's fancy.
Tyler said. Jordan giggled. I heard you were from Chicago. I'll see what I can do about making a latte. I'm just kidding. A regular coffee works for me. No, you want a latte and I want to try making one. Can't promise a Chicago-level latte, but I'll give it a try. Jordan said before turning to Tyler, what would you like?
I'll have a cheeseburger and fries.
Jordan slipped her notepad into a pocket on her apron and headed for the kitchen. I can't believe how nice everyone is.
Well, this is Friendly.
I guess so. It's really living up to its name, Stacy said, handing the menu to Tyler. How do you feel about being back?
It's nice. This is a great place to live, and it feels like I never left. People look out for one another. I feel like soon things will be back to the way they were before I took off.
That's great. Home sweet home. I still would love to see your ranch, Stacy said. Jordan arrived with the food and a thin glass mug with coffee and whipped cream on top. Here's your coffee, Jordan said, setting down the mug. I realized I didn't know what a latte was when I got back there, so I winged it. Hope you like it. I'm sure I will, Stacy said, catching a bit of cream from the side of the mug with her finger. This looks delicious. Thanks, Jordan. Yep. Here's the bill, Jordan said to Tyler. Pay when you. Turning back to Stacy, she said, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. By the way, this is excellent, Stacy exclaimed after taking a sip of her drink. Tyler and Stacy spent the next few minutes enjoying the food. He offered her a bite of his burger and fries, and she poured some of her latte into his empty glass for him to taste. As they were finishing up, Marissa walked up to the table.
Oh, hey, Tyler. Good to see you again. Are you still thinking about working for us?
Marissa asked, her arms folded over her chest. Tyler was taken aback. He didn't want Stacy to know he was entertaining a job of any kind. She'd start to wonder about his ranch.
Marissa, this is Stacy Timmons. She's Ethel's great-grandniece.
Marissa turned to face Stacy and said,
Oh, nice to meet you. So sorry to hear about your aunt.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks, Stacy said, smiling and holding out her hand.
Back to you working for us.
Marissa said, whipping her head around and turning her back to Stacy.
That's between Donnie and I.
You do need money, don't you?
Hey, we better get going back to your ranch. Marissa directed a confused look in her direction.
What ranch is she talking about?
Stacy, I wanted to keep it quiet.
Tyler said, giving her a quick wink. Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, that cat's out of the bag now. Better get going. You've got that guy coming soon who wants to talk to you about organic farming. Stacy said, pushing her chair back and standing up. Tyler pulled his phone out and pretended to look at the time.
You're right. I'll pay and meet you outside.
Great, but don't worry about the tab. You're helping me with the house. The least I can do is pay for lunch, Stacy said to Tyler. They both left the table before Marissa could respond.
Thank you for that.
Tyler said as he got into the truck. No problem. She seemed very pushy and a little rude.
You have no idea.
What job was she talking about?
Oh, it's nothing. Her brother wants me to do some work for him. She works at the company as well.
Did I sense a hint of a past between you two?
Yep, she's the one that broke my heart and drove me out of town.
It must be hard to see her.
It's not as big a deal as you would think. She was nicer in high school, and she was fresh-faced and happy. Now she's caked in makeup and seems kind of uptight. She also got married behind my back and was pregnant before I knew about it. Not exactly. Someone I think of as the one that got away.
Sounds terrible. I'm sure you found love once you made it to Los Angeles. Excuse me for saying so, but you're quite a catch. Tyler felt his cheeks warm. Did Stacy really believe he was a catch?
Have you been to L.A.? It's not a place where you find love. Instead, you find a ton of people who want to be in movies and they're willing to do anything to get there. Most think life is a movie and they're always acting. I can't tell you how many times I trusted someone and their word turned out to be nothing.
What made you stay in L.A. so long?
Or a girl with pink hair. It's a long story. Part of it was thinking that Friendly was just a sleepy little town. It was one of those things where you've been told that you should love something but you don't. The big city is supposed to be the way to go, but I never liked it. Just felt like I should have liked it, so I overstayed my welcome.
Chapter 12. Stacy and Tyler worked in the basement for the next few days. They began and ended each workday with a meal. That Friday night, Tyler headed into Ben's for his first shift of stocking groceries.
Thanks again for taking pity on me, Ben.
No pity. I just know when a man needs a break. Besides, it's nice to have someone here with me at night. The kids and grandkids help during the day, but they have other lives. I don't, so I get stuck with this shift.
Do you think they'll carry this on after you retire?
They seem keen to do so. We'll see. Say, have you heard about Donnie running for county commissioner?
Yeah, he mentioned that to me, asked me to be his campaign manager.
He seems to want to bring some big box stores into town. Our population is small, but those guys don't care. Supposedly, Donnie has been meeting with their representatives, and they're going to fund his campaign.
And for funding his campaign, he'll help run the locals out of business.
That's the card he's trying to play. Are you still working for him?
He never gave me any work to do, so no.
What are you doing all day?
Working at Ethel's old place.
I heard that her niece is in town. Seen her in here the other day. How did you end up working over there?
Just showed up one day, and she was there.
You want to buy that place? I know you spent a lot of time with Ethel.
I can't afford it, but who knows what'll happen. I might work with my dad. That'll change things, but I don't know how much.
That position with Donnie could be helpful if you need money.
Yes, but I don't want to take part in something that could hurt Friendly.
What if you weren't hurting Friendly?
What do you mean?
If some outsider comes in and takes the campaign manager position, he might do a bang-up job, and we won't have an inside track. What if you were the spy on the inside?
I'm not the spy type.
But you're a good man, and I think you could talk some sense into Donnie. He's motivated and determined. He might bring enough people in to turn this into a city.
We don't want that.
We don't, but only one of us has a chance to.
That weekend, Stacy and Tyler started working on the barn. They worked until 4 on Saturday before heading into the kitchen. How about cold cuts today?
Sure. What are we working with?
I've got salami, turkey, and ham for meat, Havarti and Gouda for cheese slices, and mayo and mustard for condiments.
Sounds good?
I also have some lettuce and tomato, and the bread is wheat, so prepare for a gourmet meal. Stacy had expected a chuckle from Tyler, but he was staring off into the distance. Okay, Cowboy, what is going on?
You don't live here, so I guess you'd be the perfect person to tell about this.
Stacy sat down at the table and motioned for him to take a seat. Tyler sat and sighed. What's going on? You really don't seem like yourself today.
You remember Marissa from the diner?
Of course I do.
Her brother wants me to be his campaign manager for his run for county commissioner.
Are you interested in that?
No, but I found out that Donnie wants to turn this place into a city, and I don't want that either. If I'm the campaign manager, I can work against that goal, kind of like a spy.
A double agent. Is that something you want to do?
No, Donnie was a friend in high school. He's different than he was back then, but I don't want to do anything bad to him.
Okay, so here's what I do. I would take the position because I would want to know what's happening, especially if it might change the place I love. There's no need to be dishonest. You can go into it with honesty and the goal of helping him if he has good intention. If something comes up you don't agree with, you let him know. That way you have all the information about what he's doing. You're staying loyal to your friend, but also your conscience.
That's good advice. Thanks.
Now, the real question is, does Donnie have an agenda or a reason he wants you? Tyler thought about it for a moment. Donnie's family was known in the community, but they hadn't always been the most liked. Donnie's father had managed the coal mine when they were kids, before he bought a ranch. He'd sided with corporate interest over the men that did all the work.
That's a good question. My family has been ranching and friendly since my great-grandpa came up and helped establish the town. Donnie's people have been here just as long, but they kind of have a reputation of caring more about money than their neighbors. That doesn't go over around here so well.
And your family is all about neighbors and doing the right thing.
I guess so.
So you can bring in votes because people trust you and your dad.
He needs my name.
And your face. Who could vote against a face like yours, Stacy said, leaning close to Tyler with a smirk on her face. He blushed and shook his head. You'll win this thing for him, Stacy said.
Or lose it.
Not a chance. Take me with you when you accept the campaign manager position.
Okay, I'll probably stop by his office tomorrow after church.
On a Sunday.
Yeah, a few years ago he told me he works 7 days a week. Speaking of the day of rest, would you like to come to church tomorrow?
Chapter 13. I hope this is modest enough, Stacy thought as she stood in the mirror surveying the form-fitting blue dress. It fell just above her knee, but it accentuated her body. Was it too much for church? She wasn't sure, but it was the nicest dress she'd packed. She hoped that the beige sweater shawl she had wrapped around her shoulders was enough cover. Stacy rushed to the vanity mirror her aunt had in the bedroom and finished her makeup. As she lined her eyes, she heard Tyler's truck roaring up the drive. Her heart was racing. It's church, but this almost feels like a date, she thought. Wait for him to come to the door. You don't want to seem anxious or eager, Stacy told herself. She grabbed her purse and stood in the foyer. Tyler knocked on the door and Stacy counted to 10, standing perfectly still until she finished. Then she slowly pulled the door open. Tyler was dressed in a pale green shirt, vest, and gray slacks. His eyes met hers, causing her to freeze.
You look amazing,
he said. It took a moment for the words to register. Thank you. I love that color on you, Stacy said. Tyler reached out and Stacy took his hand. Once they were on the porch, she slid her arm through his. When they made it to the truck, he gently helped her into the passenger seat, making sure she didn't stumble. Before he closed the door, Tyler looked up at Stacy. She thought she saw longing, but she couldn't be sure. Stacy was very popular at church. She felt like she met every single person at the service.
Do you have plans for brunch?
Jane asked as they stood in front of the church after the service.
We've actually got plans.
Tyler said before Stacy could respond.
Oh, okay. Well, Stacy, you are welcome at our house at any time.
Thank you, Mrs. Bennington.
Call me Jane. Please. Have a good day and let us know if you need anything.
She gave Stacy a hug and headed off to join Bert, who was talking with a man across the lawn.
Sorry. My mom is trying to get you to the house again. She loves to take care of people.
No need to be sorry. Your family is amazing. I'd love to visit again before I take off. Tyler smiled, but his eyes looked sad.
Are you ready to meet Donnie?
Are you ready to become the campaign manager for a potentially shady county commissioner?
As ready as I'm going to be.
20 minutes later, they were standing in front of the trailer that served as Donnie's office. A tall, thin man with curly blonde hair came out and waved.
Donnie, this is Stacy Timmons.
Nice to meet such a lovely lady.
Donnie said, taking Stacy's hand and giving it a gentle shake. It's great to meet you as well. Stacy applied a firm grasp to the shake.
So I'd like to accept the position of campaign manager if it is still available.
Oh, it's definitely available. This is awesome. Great to have you on board.
Donnie said, holding up his cup of coffee for a toast.
I'm happy to be a part of this. So what do you have in mind?
Man, you're eager. Excellent. I've got a few touchstones. Jobs, growth, and water. I want to get that mine back up and going to bring some decent paying jobs to the area. I also want to get a store that has a full selection of items. Ben's is nice, but we need something more. And in terms of the water, I want to grab more control.
Donnie, you know why the mine is closed. It hadn't really produced anything for years before it shut down, and I think most people still remember the collapse and all the trouble it caused between neighbors. I say, let's find another way.
See, this is why I want you on board. You're right. That collapse is still fresh in the minds of many people. We'll have to work to change that.
What about ranching? It's still viable and people like it much better than mining. There's something to pass down to your kids.
Yeah, my dad passed down his ranch to me. He's in real estate now, but it was nice to have something to take up the moment I turned 20. We could work on getting some corporate contracts and expand things so we're not reliant on Ben's or the weekend market to keep sales steady. I'm working on getting something like that going for myself, but we could get your dad in on the deal as well.
Tyler knew his father would pass on any corporate deal. He had said time and time again that he didn't want to be owned by any large company. Is there a way to build up the economy amongst the locals? Sometimes outsiders want to change places, Stacy interjected. Donnie looked over at her. His eyebrows raised.
Well, I mean, probably, but the growth isn't going to be massive.
No, but slow growth may help maintain the integrity of the town. I think there's a middle ground where you can grow the economy and keep friendly.
That's a great idea, isn't it, Donnie?
Well, it's something we can look at, but like I said, it won't be massive.
Massive isn't always good. I'm from Chicago, and I can tell you that my favorite places are the smaller independent shops and restaurants. The big boys move too far away from the people. You don't want that for friendly. Donnie turned toward Tyler.
It's nice to have a wingman or wingwoman. I think maybe we should set up a time to meet when we can sit down face to face, just the two of us.
Stacy winked at Tyler from behind Donnie's back.
Yeah. Okay, we'll set something up.
I've got to get back to work. Listen, we've got time to prepare. The election is still a ways away. I'll call you in a month or so.
Tyler and Stacy giggled and high-fived once they were back in the truck.
Great job, wing woman.
That was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, and informative. It's true. Donnie wants to make this a metropolis.
So we know a little about his plan now. You were honest, but he still wants you to be his manager. That's good news because it sounds like he has a bunch of plans for Friendly that might turn it into something other than a small town.
I'm thinking we should have you run for office. You were great, Stace.
Stacy smiled and felt a wave of sadness rise in her chest. It was November now. She would have to wrap up what she was doing and get back to Chicago at some point. It would also mean leaving Tyler. I'm going to miss this place. It's special.
Well, you don't have to leave. Ethel was a big city girl when she showed up. She never left.
I have things back in Chicago, and as much as I sometimes hate my job, I worked hard to get to where I am.
Yeah, you've made something of yourself. Sometimes I wish I'd never left this place. Maybe I'd be more than I am. When the acting bug hit me, I thought, I can make $1 million, and I took off to LA. Wish I'd made another decision.
Stacy gently touched his arm. I'm sure you were a fantastic kid, but you're even better now. Tyler felt his cheeks warm.
That's awful nice of you to say.
Those aren't just words. Stacy said, moving closer to Tyler.
I think you'd like living here.
No way. I mean, it's nice, but I need city life.
Do you really? You told me you were stressed all the time and running around fixing things for your job. Was that really a life?
That's the way life is. You work, make money, and try to find a little happiness.
Maybe. But when I think about it that way, I'm kind of happy I went out to LA. If that's all it's about, I did do something with my life. I followed my dream. I failed, but at least that dream isn't still worming around in the back of my brain.
Stacy waited for a moment. Tyler was right. He'd followed his heart. She was always following her head, but what about her heart? I get what you're saying, but what do you want now? Stacy moved close to Tyler.
I'm still figuring that out. I know I want to be here and I want to settle down, but that's as far as I've gotten.
That sounds like a great plan. You've already got the ranch, so now you just need the settle down part.
I need a job first.
Tyler said, immediately realizing that he'd slipped up and admitted that he didn't have a career. What about the ranch?
Oh yeah, I just have to get some contracts together so I can make consistent money from my land.
You've got connections, right?
Yeah, I just have to start using them effectively.
Speaking of which, I want to see your place. Tyler felt his ears warming up. He never should have lied to Stacy.
So, there is a special place on my property I can take you. I'm not ready to show you the house. It's not in good shape, but I'll take you to my secret place. It's in the mountains, high up above here. You okay with that?
Stacy's eyes widened, higher than here.
Yeah, trust me. I'll keep you safe.
Stacy squealed and covered her eyes as Tyler turned onto the Forest Service road. The truck bumped and hiccuped along the way, hitting snow when they got to 5,500 feet. Oh my gosh, Tyler, where's the road? Stacy asked, peeking out from behind her fingers.
Don't worry. I know these woods.
Tyler pulled as close to the cabin as he could before parking. Where are we?
Don't worry, sweets. I can carry you if need be.
Tyler climbed out of the truck and walked around to the passenger door. Stacy wore a terrified look.
Don't worry, sweets. I got you.
Tyler said, gently lifting Stacy off the bench seat. Shivering in his arms, Stacy tucked her face into the side of his neck, warming her cold nose against his skin. Tyler hugged her close, cradling her as he carefully maneuvered through deadfall and patches of ice. They reached the cabin a few minutes later.
Here we are,
Tyler said, easing Stacy down to the ground. Tyler, it's...
I know it ain't fancy.
No, it's amazing. It looks so cozy.
Really?
Yeah. Can I go inside? Shocked that Stacy was interested in the cabin, Tyler took her hand and led her to the door.
It's a little rough in here, so just be careful.
Stacy nodded. Tyler had spruced up the interior as best he could. 2 cots were covered in blankets, the tiny table set for 2, and he'd cleaned the kitchen. I like this, Stacy said, rushing over to one of his grandfather's paintings.
My grandpa painted that.
Was he an artist?
Just for himself. He was a rancher, like my dad.
Was this his place?
Not really. He used it as a hunting shack.
Stacy ran her fingers over the painting. This is nice. He was a very talented man, just like his grandson. Tyler shook his head and changed the subject.
Are you hungry?
Kind of.
I could make something.
Okay. Like what? Tyler opened the cabinet.
We've got preserves, jerky, and something called hardtack. What do you think?
Let's have some jerky. Tyler pulled out one of the wooden chairs at the small table. Stacy curtsied and took a seat. So, you live around here? This doesn't look like ranch country.
No, this is just my little secret place. Not my home.
So many secrets.
Gotta keep you guessing.
Tyler said, pulling the beef jerky out of the cabinet and placing several pieces on the plates. So, why is the table set for 2?
Well, you never know when a beautiful princess is going to stumble into my realm.
Tyler sat down across from Stacy.
Don't be afraid. My dad and brother come up here and hunt. The jerky is from them.
Stacy took a bite. This is something. It's superb. So, when's the last time you went hunting?
It's been years.
You're an impressive man.
Does this mean you want to take me back to Chicago?
Maybe. Would you go? Tyler tilted his head.
I don't know. Maybe.
Silence filled the space between them. Is that true? Stacy wondered.
So, you like this place?
Tyler asked, changing the subject. Yeah, I think this would be a good place to camp out for a few days.
Where did the city girl go?
I have layers, mister? Chapter 14. The next day, a storm moved in, dropping several inches of snow on Friendly. Tyler and Stacy worked in the barn until 5 before heading inside. After peeling off their layers of flannels and coats, Stacy put the kettle on the stove. Tyler was staring out the window, smiling at the large flakes falling against the window.
You like snow?
Yeah, we get plenty of it in Chicago.
I'm sure, but we have the best snow here.
Really? Is that so?
Yep. Put the flannel back on and grab your gloves. I know we just came in, but you need to experience this snow. It's amazing. Come on.
Tyler said, slipping on his flannel and pulling the door open. Stacy hesitated but followed suit and headed outside.
This is the first good snowfall, and I want to show you why we have the best snow in the world.
Tyler said, scooping Stacy up into his arms and gently dumping her into a snowdrift. Oh, no, you didn't, she yelled, reaching down and grabbing up handfuls of snow and tossing them at him. The two wrestled in the fresh powder, laughing and throwing snow at one another. I challenge you to a snow angel contest. Mine will be better, Stacy said, giggling and spreading out in the snow. As they rolled around, flapping their arms and legs, lights emerged along the country road. Who is that? Stacy asked.
I don't know. Wait, no, it couldn't be.
Tyler recognized the small compact car whipping along the road, driving too fast and a bit reckless. The vehicle slid past the driveway, screeched, went in reverse, and whipped onto the unpaved lane. Struggling over the snow, the car slowly crept toward them. Eventually, it came to a screeching halt. This can't be happening, he thought. We better get up, Stacy said, standing up and holding out her hand to Tyler. Stunned, he stayed on the ground. Ty, are you okay?
Stace, why don't you head inside? I'll handle this.
What's wrong? Who is it? The car door swung open, and a painfully thin woman dressed in yoga pants and a red hoodie climbed out of the car. Her hair was blonde on top.
Tyler, I think we made a mistake. You don't want to be here, and I want you to come back to LA. We can move outside of the city. Find a cheaper place. I just want you back.
Autumn, what in the world are you doing here?
Your sister told me to drive down this road and look for your truck. There really isn't anything around here. I can't believe you left LA for this.
Their relationship had never been happy. Looking back, it was barely a relationship at all. They lived on opposite ends of town and only saw one another a few times a month.
I don't know what to say.
Stacy moved away from the scene. First in slow, small steps, but as Tyler moved toward Autumn, she picked up the pace.
Stace, wait.
Tyler said, turning to face her.
Who is that woman?
No one you need to worry about, Stacy said, walking faster and eventually heading into the house and closing the door.
Tyler, who is that woman?
A friend. I'm doing some work for her. Why are you here? This is a dangerous time to drive long distance, especially in that car.
Well, I made it. And I came because I'm in love with you and I never should have let you go.
Where's this coming from, Autumn?
What do you mean? We were together for years.
In a way, but not really. We barely saw each other.
It's cold out here. Whose house is this? Who was that woman?
Get back in your car.
Tyler said, turning to head for the house.
Where are you going?
I'll be back. Just get in the car.
The door was ajar. Tyler pushed it open and looked for Stacy. She was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, her arms folded.
Stace, I'm sorry about this. I had no idea she was going to show up.
Oh, it's nothing. I mean, you have a right to have a life.
It's not quite what it looks like.
Is this why I haven't been able to see your ranch? Tyler tried to come up with a way to explain things to Stacy.
No, not at all. She just drove here from California.
In this weather?
Apparently. I haven't seen her since I left. I swear.
It's cold out there. You better take her home.
I don't know where I'm taking her, but it won't be my home. She didn't.
Tyler, it's getting late. Please just take care of whatever it is you have going on.
Okay, I will. See you tomorrow.
Stacy gave him a strained smile and a head nod. Tyler tapped on Autumn's window and said, before hopping into his truck and taking off. Creeping along Frobisher Pass, he kept a close eye on Autumn's car. Luckily, Ben was out plowing the road. The neighborhood grocer, also Snow, plowed the main road that ran along the outskirts of town. Not sure what to do with Autumn, Tyler drove to his sister's house. When they arrived, Tyler parked in front of his sister's house. Autumn pulled beside him, rolled down her window, and yelled.
Is this where we're staying?
Give me a minute. I'll be back.
Tyler headed to the door and knocked. When no one answered, he rang the doorbell and knocked at the same time. Angel pulled open the door.
Tyler. I've met your little friend. She's not nice. What is she doing here?
I didn't invite her. But listen, sis. I've got a situation.
Yeah, I know. She was at Mom and Dad's place earlier.
Sis, how do you feel about putting up a visitor for a few days?
You want her to camp out at my house? What is going on?
Angel asked, grabbing Tyler by the sleeve and pulling him into the house.
Autumn. Drove in from California. Says she wants me back.
Tyler, what about Stacy?
I didn't ask Autumn to come. I haven't even talked to her since about a month before I left LA. Now Stacy thinks I've been hiding Autumn at my ranch while working at her place. I look like a terrible person.
You have a ranch, Uncle Tyler? Cassie asked, peeking out from the archway of the kitchen.
No, Cassie, he doesn't. But because he wasn't honest, now Stacy is hurt and thinks something weird is going on. This is why you should always tell the truth.
Your mom's right.
Tyler said before turning back to Angel.
Can you put Autumn up for the night? Maybe a couple of days? I don't know what to do, but I've got to fix things with Stacy.
Tyler, I can't believe this. Cassie, go into the living room with your dad, she turned back to Tyler. Get in the kitchen. You are 30 years old. 4 years older than I am. The time for all of this is over. Stacy is a wonderful woman, and if you get this right, you actually have a chance of being happy. This nonsense with Autumn will not score you any points, so clean it up fast. If you don't, Stacy is going to be gone, you hear me? Gone.
I know what's at stake. I told you, I didn't ask Autumn to come here.
Right, but you obviously didn't clarify that whatever you two shared was over. Then you lied to Stacy about owning a ranch. Come on, this isn't high school. Listen, I don't know what you're doing, but yes. I'll put your bad girlfriend up. You need to make sure that you don't lose Stacy while you're doing whatever this is you're doing.
Angel said, cornering him in the kitchen.
She just showed up. I haven't talked to her in months.
You being back here is a good thing, but leave LA in LA.
Chapter 15. Tyler tossed and turned throughout the night, wondering what to do about Autumn. She had driven all the way to Friendly after not even saying goodbye before he left town. Of course, he and Autumn hadn't had much of a life together back in Los Angeles. For 10 years, Tyler worked low-paying jobs and lived on the fringes of Hollywood. He'd been too embarrassed to go back to Friendly. He hated LA. The smog and crowds gave him anxiety, and he spent many nights sitting on the lumpy hand-me-down couch, drinking whiskey and wishing he could go back and make a different choice after high school. Then one day he met Autumn, a short, dangerously thin blonde who had also moved to LA to pursue the dream of becoming a famous actress. They'd worked at a coffee shop on the west side of town. Tyler worked the night shift and Autumn worked afternoons. Although she was only 2 years younger than him, Autumn often behaved like she was in high school. Back then, she'd had purple hair and a habit of wearing clothes that tended to get her sent home from work. They'd worked at a coffee shop on the west side of town. Tyler worked the night shift and Autumn worked afternoons. Although she was only 2 years younger than him, Autumn often behaved like she was in high school. Back then, she'd had purple hair and a habit of wearing clothes that tended to get her sent home from work. You have to cover up to work here, the manager told her.
It's LA. No one cares if you wear a midriff.
If you're not decent tomorrow, you're fired. Of course, Autumn had shown up with a midriff the next day. The manager had grumbled, but since they were short-handed, he let it go.
This is how you deal with people in LA.
Autumn told Tyler. He had never met a girl like Autumn. In time, he'd find many like her, but back then, when he was still new to LA, he thought she was an anomaly. In time, he'd worked up the nerve to ask her out, and while he didn't feel a connection, he was sure that they could build something. Unfortunately, that something was little more than providing company for one another on an irregular basis. Around 8 that morning, he headed to Angel's place.
She's not very nice.
Angel whispered after pulling the door open.
Thanks for letting her spend the night.
Sure. Your Royal Highness is in the kitchen.
Angel grabbed Tyler's arm and said,
What are you planning on telling her?
I don't know. She came here and I don't want to be rude, but we didn't have anything special. She knows that.
So why is she here?
Because LA is expensive. She needs a roommate.
And you're nice to her.
I try to be nice to everyone.
Yep, but that's not the pattern for her. I'm sure most people don't put up with her crap. You do. That's why she's driven all this way.
But we're not together. She's here for her own reason. I don't know what they are, but she never cleared them by me. Don't worry. I'm going to deal with this.
Tyler headed for the kitchen.
Autumn, we need to talk?
Do you have a thing with someone else?
Autumn asked as soon as Tyler walked into the kitchen. She was sitting at the table, dressed in hot pink pajama shorts and a plain white t-shirt.
Why are you here?
To get you back, of course.
We hadn't seen each other in months, and before I left LA, you wouldn't even respond to my text messages anymore. This doesn't make any sense.
Are you into that lady at the farm place? Come on, she's way too fancy for you. Looks like a total city girl.
Yes, she is. But remember, you grew up in San Diego.
Yeah, but I know how to be a cowgirl too. That lady doesn't. Besides, we have more in common.
Tyler wasn't sure what to do with Autumn. She'd always been difficult to deal with, but she'd ignored his text messages when he told her he was leaving town. She hadn't even bothered to say goodbye.
What about the dream? Remember, we were both going to be stars. That can still happen.
You know, I've been thinking about that, and I never truly wanted to be a movie star. It was one of those things that came up after high school because I didn't know what to do. Money, fame, all that stuff sounded good, but it wasn't what I really wanted. I cut my hair 5 minutes after I walked into my parents' house. I was back on a horse and helping my dad with the animals the next night. This is where I want to be. I'm never going back to LA.
Are you serious? There's not even a coffee shop in the entire place. The restaurant looks like a diner from the 1950s, and it smells like poop. Why would you want to stay here?
Because it's good here.
Angel yelled from the living room. Autumn shook her head and yelled back.
Well, of course it's good. There are only like 5 people that live here. What kind of badness could there be?
Listen, I need you to clear out and go home. We're done.
Not until we sit down and have a long conversation. I'm not leaving before that happens.
Autumn folded her arms across her chest and rolled her eyes. Tyler wanted her gone, but he knew how stubborn she could be.
I've got things to do this morning. Be decent while you're a guest in my sister's home. Tonight, we talk. Tomorrow morning, you go home.
Tyler grabbed his hat and keys and headed out the door. Chapter 17. Tyler and Autumn drove back to Angel's in silence. He could see a satisfied smirk on her face, but waited until he was parked at his sister's house to say anything.
I want you to go home.
Gladly. We can drive together.
I'm never going back.
How could you want to stay here?
Autumn, this is where I'm from. There was a time when I thought this place was backwards in Hicksville, but now I see that I was being silly. This place is wonderful, and I plan on living out my life right here.
Well, I hate it. What about me?
I think you should find a place that you love and go there. I'm going to stay here.
We could do the long-distance thing for a while.
Autumn, I don't know how to make this clearer, so I'm just going to say it. Even if I did move back to LA, I wouldn't be able to continue our relationship. We never had much together, and over time it became less and less. I'm sorry, but it's over.
The snow had cleared up by the next morning. Autumn left just after sunrise. Tyler, still not sure Stacy wanted to see him, was sitting in the kitchen sipping coffee when his dad came in.
Son, that was wild. I'm glad you sent the pink-haired lady away.
Dad, I never asked her to come here.
Calm down, son. I know you didn't. I'm just saying it's a good thing she's gone. Here's what I think. I think that was a sign that you need to get your life together. So let's talk. What is your next move?
I'd love to buy Ethel's old place. It would be perfect. It's beautiful and full of potential. Ideal location, and I love the way I feel being there. There's really no other place I'd rather be.
His father laughed.
Oh boy, he's in love.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I love that piece of property. I can imagine all those things we just talked about happening right there.
So can I, but it's not the property that's got you.
What do you mean?
It's the girl.
Tyler shook his head.
First Donnie and now you. I'm just helping Stace out until she gets everything in order. After that, she'll head back to the city and I'm still here.
Son, she's only going back to the city if you let her go. Stop Stacy from going. You two got nicknames for each other. She's fawning over Ty. You say you're talking about property, but you're really talking about Stacy. I mean, come on. This is what it is. Put your request out there and see what happens.
Pop, she's not the same as me.
That's a hill of beans, boy. You two work. Much better than the thing you had going in high school, and definitely better than you were with Pinky. Now, I'm going to tell you like it is. If you miss a chance like this, you might not get another one.
But Dad,
None of your differences matter, son. I'll tell you what you need to know. We're all born, we all die, and we all want and need love. That's the way it is. There's really nothing else you need to know.
do you think she's going to give up her amazing life to move here to Cowtown?
Cows are better than most people.
Tyler laughed and nodded his head in agreement.
You're right. I guess Yaktown is more appropriate if we're thinking about her property. But Dad, she has property. I have nothing. How is that going to fly?
You'll work it out. She's got that look in her eye. Last time she was here, every time you spoke, she was hanging on every word. Maybe she hasn't found anyone because she hasn't encountered enough cowboys in her life.
You really think that big city girl is all about me?
No, I don't think that, son. I know it. Take it from a guy who once had a girl look at him the way Stacy looks at you. She's in the other room right now. Now go get your girl before she gets away.
Stacy wasn't the type who would be okay with living Tyler. Tyler was sure she was waiting for marriage and there wouldn't be any domestic living situation until that happened. He couldn't afford a ring, but he also couldn't show up empty-handed. Tyler headed into his parents' bedroom where his mother was folding clothes.
Mom, I don't know what to do. I think I'm in love.
Yeah, I know. Everyone knows. When are you going to pop the question?
The question. You mean marriage?
If you love the woman, don't let her get away.
You think she'll say yes?
Are you going to ask?
Mom, I don't know. Don't you think this is too sudden? I mean, I've only known her for a little while and we are so different.
Do you really believe any of that?
I don't even have a ring.
Ah, I see. Now I understand. I've got something that might do the trick. My grandmother gave me her wedding ring. It's real simple but beautiful. It's an emerald with a bunch of little diamonds around the edge. Grandpa worked 2 jobs to buy it, and none of your siblings wanted it. I think Stacy would be excited to have it. She looks fancy, but she's so down to earth.
Tyler followed his mother into her bedroom. She pulled a small jewelry box down from the top of the tall bureau in the corner.
I think God brought you back here so you could meet this wonderful woman. Don't let your blessing get away.
Jane opened the jewelry box and pushed it toward Tyler.
This is so special.
Tyler said, reaching into the box.
Don't hesitate. She might think you're still into the pink-haired girl.
Autumn's gone now. I hope Stacy understands.
Just be honest. Remember how it felt when Marissa wasn't honest with you? Do unto others as you would have them do to you?
Chapter 18. Tyler spent the next few hours practicing what he was going to say to Stacy. He was jotting down notes when Jane came rushing into the house.
Tyler, Stacy's showing the place. I just drove by and I saw her out there with a man and woman. Rumor has it she wants to sell as soon as possible and leave.
Son, don't let that happen.
You might never find another girl like her. She gets you, and that seems to have been a problem for you in the past.
I don't know if she'll hear me out.
Just get over there and ask her. Stop wasting time.
A cute young couple emerged from the minivan, waving to Stacy and giving her a warm and friendly smile as they started to move toward her. Thank you for meeting with us. We have been looking all over the valley for something like this. Great, let's take a quick look at the outbuilding before we head inside, Stacy said. The couple followed her past the house towards the barn. They use this barn for yaks. We've cleaned it up and remodeled so it can be used for more. Stacy opened the big red doors. Just as they were stepping inside, the roar of a truck coming up the driveway interrupted them. Stacy looked back to see Tyler's old truck speeding towards them. I'll be right back. This should only take a minute, Stacy said. Tyler jumped out of the truck, rushing in her direction.
Don't sell this place,
he said in a huff. Tyler, I've got a life back in Chicago, and you apparently have a life in LA. Let's get back to normal.
No, I don't have a life in LA. You never gave me a chance to explain. Autumn was here because she's having financial issues. She thinks that's a reason to be together. She's gone now, and as soon as I got her out of my hair, all I could think of was what you said the other day. About how you could never be with me. It wasn't so much what you said, it was more how you said it. You were doing that thing you do when you're sacred. The tough act, like nothing matters. But I know you. It was the exact opposite of what you meant.
Stacy considered protesting, but he had her pegged. Okay, yes, I was saying what I thought needed to be said to protect my heart, but the truth of the matter is that I don't think I want to manage this place by myself. Aunt Ethel must have been one heck of a woman, but I can't do this by myself. I have to sell this place,
Okay, sell the place,
Tyler said, taking Stacy by surprise.
but marry me. Marry me and be my big city girl, and I'll be your cowboy, living in these mountains and carving out a life.
The couple Stacy had been showing the property to were behind her, clapping and yelling. Stacy was stunned. You want me to marry you?
I love you, Stacy. I've never met anyone like you, and even though we seem different on the surface, I feel like we're kindred. Marry me.
Stacy was shocked to feel tears on her cheeks. She finally found her knight in shining armor. Turned out she'd been looking in the wrong places. Her knight wore cowboy boots. Maybe I can work online and keep my job, and getting yaks might be fun.
I know we can raise them and do well. We can pick up where Ethel left off.
I could drag your sister and mom to the big city for shopping now and then.
Vegas is 6 hours away.
The couple behind Stacy was cheering and chatting for Stacy to say yes.
Are you going to be my girl? Forever.
Stacy thought about the condo on the Gold Coast in Chicago, the rhythm and beat of the city she loved so much, the fact that she would probably be demoted if she moved west, and the idea of having yaks running everywhere. It sounded crazy, but it felt like exactly what she wanted, on one condition.
Anything.
The cowboy promises to visit the big city at least twice a year. Tyler nodded his head.
I'm in. Heck, we can even go 3 times a year.
Stacy jumped into Tyler's arms, and the two shared a soft, delicate kiss. I don't think this place is for sale anymore, the woman said to her husband. Nope, I'd say this place is definitely spoken for, he replied. Epilogue. Angel was waiting for her when she exited the terminal. Seeing her future sister-in-law's face after a bumpy, turbulent flight was refreshing. At Christmas wedding. The idea had sounded great when they discussed it, but having a few weeks to move her life across the country while simultaneously planning her wedding had turned out to be a bad idea. Stacy was flying back to Friendly from Chicago that morning. Her stomach turned a bit as the plane moved toward thick, ominous clouds during the descent. Angel was waiting for her when she exited the terminal. Seeing her future sister-in-law's face after a bumpy, turbulent flight was refreshing. Thanks for picking me up, she said, climbing into Angel's car.
Sure thing. I'm so excited about your country wedding.
Me too. I just hope we can pull it off.
We will. Tyler has been working hard on this end while you were in Chicago getting things in order there.
To be honest, I can't wait until it's over. Planning a wedding in a few weeks has been stressful.
I'm sure it has been, but here's the thing I don't understand. I'm a country girl through and through. But there is no way I'd spend my honeymoon in Grandpa's old cabin. What are you thinking?
I've spent my entire life in cities, flying around to resorts and luxury hotels. I enjoyed every minute of it, but I'm ready for something different.
Tyler would have taken you someplace nice.
This will be nice. It was in that cabin that
I know you felt the twinkle in your heart. I've heard this story several times.
Whatever, I've told it twice, Stacy said. The soon-to-be sister-in-laws looked at one another and laughed.
I don't know how we're going to get a friggin' sleigh up there.
I'm just hoping Bryce has tamed that horse we'll be riding in on.
For a city girl, you certainly planned a country wedding.
Really feeling the country these days.
That's great because country is what you're going to get around here. By the way, I'm glad you made it back before the storm.
I was afraid a storm was coming in. My parents and maid of honor are flying in tomorrow. I want to come back and lead them up to town. Please tell me that the storm isn't coming in for a few days.
Stace, I'd love to tell you that, but it wouldn't be true.
What? How bad is it supposed to be?
The main road out of town will most likely be closed. We won't be able to get back to the airport.
It better not snow until after they land, Stacy said.
I think it's going to snow before that. We're in the mountains, Stace. Snow is what we're known for.
Then I'll have to stay here and rent a car. I need to get them back to Friendly.
You're the bride. You are the only one that has to be in Friendly for the wedding to proceed.
I know. You're right, but what about my family?
Okay, so Tyler needs to talk to you about the wedding. Maybe you should call him first and talk about things.
What do we need to do?
I don't want to do it either, but the wedding needs to happen tomorrow.
Angel and Stacy had stopped for coffee just outside of the airport. She'd taken the opportunity to call Tyler. Tell me more, Stacy said, nodding at Angel before she got up and headed out of the cafe.
Reverend Stevenson says he can get things done swiftly and everyone else can head down the mountain before the storm. The forecast says it's coming in around 6, but I doubt that's an exact estimation. I'd say that as long as our guests are back and friendly by 6-ish, things will be fine.
Stacy thought about all the plans set to go into motion on the 23rd of December, the day before Christmas Eve, the perfect day to get married, or so she thought. Now, the day had to be moved up to the 21st. Okay, this isn't a problem. We just need to get the family up the mountain to Friendly, and we'll have the wedding tomorrow before the storm hits. My parents' flight is due to land at 10 tomorrow, so that gives me plenty of time to get them back up the mountain.
I'll send my dad to get them. You're the star of the show. I want you to have the most relaxing morning possible.
I don't know if I'll be able to relax, but you're right. Someone else should pick them up. My maid of honor, Jada, will also be with them.
Excellent. So as far as food goes, I think we can get hometown to make us something quick, but since it's short notice, I don't know what.
Let me brainstorm with Angel. We'll figure it out.
Okay, and Bryce is all set to bring you from the road to the aisle. He'll take your dad first and then come back to get you.
Stacy hesitated before saying, will I still be able to have my sleigh?
I will not deny my queen her triumphant ride up the mountain in a sleigh. Ben has that covered.
On the drive back to town, Angel and Stacy discussed the food situation.
It's got to be something quick and easy.
Agreed. I have an idea, but before I tell you, I need your honest feedback.
Okay, what is it?
Burgers and fries. Hometown could get that order completed before the wedding. The prime rib we had planned for the 23rd can be used in a promo after Christmas. That way everybody wins and nothing goes to waste.
That might work well. What else?
We'll pay for the burgers and fries and the prime rib, and we will have a more formal reception at Hometown in the new year. I know how terrible it is to have a client back out of a deal at the last minute. I just want to make sure Hometown is taken care of.
I love it. Hometown has the best burgers in town. Great idea.
Back in Friendly, Angel and Stacy met up with Tyler to discuss the details and adjustments they needed to make.
Okay, everyone will be here by noon tomorrow. If we hurry, all our guests could be up the mountain and in place by 4. Reverend Stevenson has agreed to move things up, but we'll need to get it done in a hurry. The 21st is the shortest day of the year. That means we will need to get through the ceremony so people can head back down the mountain as soon as possible. Sunset is at 5.
Do you think this is going to work?
Yes, it'll work. It just won't be easy, but it's a good idea to just pivot when you have to, Stacy.
Forgive me for bringing this up, but what do you two think about having the wedding at the chapel in town? I mean, I understand the vision of having this beautiful winter wedding, but wouldn't it be easier to just have it on the day you originally planned? You could just shift the location to the chapel.
The chapel was small and cozy and easy to get to. It was also in the middle of town. Sure, they could have the wedding in the chapel. That wouldn't be a big deal. The most important thing was the marriage itself. But Stacy had planned what she considered a dream wedding. Was she ready to leave those dreams behind? Getting married in the chapel wouldn't be bad. I mean, it would be okay. You might be right, Angel. What do you think, Ty? Tyler shook his head.
No way. This is your dream. You've worked hard to pull it off, and it's a super unique wedding. We're having the wedding just the way you want it. It'll just be earlier, and I've pivoted things. Just like you said. I'll head to Hometown Heroes right now and get things squared away with the food. Then me and Bryce are heading up to the cabin to do a few last-minute repairs. I've got a speaker and tunes on my cell phone for a quick dance and ice skating at the pond. Burger and fries aren't ideal, but the wedding will be what you want it to be.
I could.
No, Tyler's right, Stace. What was I thinking? This is your dream and your day. We're pulling this thing off. Burgers and fries travel okay, and they're portable. If the snow flies, people can grab a meal in a bag and head down the mountain.
Dad gave me a work light we can use at the pond. We'll tell everyone to get out there and enjoy the ice before the snow hits. After that, it's just me and my lady in a cozy little cabin in the mountains.
This is the most romantic thing I've ever heard of.
Heavy dark clouds were moving over Friendly Valley that afternoon. Tyler and Bryce rushed up the mountain to finish insulating the windows in the cabin.
Why not take her someplace nice for the honeymoon?
Bro, she wants to be here. We want to be here. This is where it happened. This is the place where I felt my heart flip, and I knew she was the girl for me.
That's sappy. Hey, don't return to that city boy thing on me. What are you two going to do up here?
Honeymoon stuff.
I see. I guess this'll be fine then. What about afterward? Are you ready to take on the farm and all that?
With Stacy? Yeah, she's a businesswoman, like her great aunt. We'll share duties, but I think she'll be the brains behind the operation.
I'm glad you two are staying around here. I expect to be an uncle in no time.
Angel's got you covered for a while.
The two shared a laugh and continued insulating the windows around the cabin.
This is going to be a hard place to reach if it snows. You have an alternate plan.
Stacy wants the ceremony here. So do I. Just hoping the snow waits a bit. After it falls, we'll be up here for a while. The truck will be parked out in the woods, just in case we need to get back to town.
I'm going to come up and check on you two midway through your honeymoon.
I think we'll be fine.
I know, but Mom and Dad are a little worried about you two spending time up here during a storm. What if something happens?
We won't have internet, but I've got a satellite phone just in case we need to call out.
Preparation. Are you still my fly by the seat of his pants, brother?
Still your brother, but I'm changing. I was flying by the seat of my pants because I did not know what I wanted in life. When I graduated from high school, I thought I would marry Marissa, but it seemed like the natural order of things. I mean, we'd known each other since we were kids, grew up in the same town, and were dating in high school. Did I love her? Who knows? We were too young to be thinking like that, but I wanted a plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's what many people end up doing. Growing up and marrying their high school sweetheart. It's not bad if it's right, but if it's just because the two of you have always been together, it's a terrible idea.
I'm so thankful she left me. My life has been much more interesting than I ever thought it would be, and now I have my queen. We're going to show everyone how it's done.
Stacy was up before dawn the next morning. Her heart was eager to be permanently joined with the man of her dreams. Light snowflakes floated down from the sky, coating the roads, but the slick dusting didn't complicate travel much. Pre-wedding festivities had been canceled since everything had been moved up 2 days, but Stacy was ready to walk down the aisle. The road into the mountains was clear enough for the horses, and Ben assured her that guests would be able to make it up, but possibly not down if the ceremony took too long. Planning a wedding for the middle of December hadn't been the best idea. Still, after Tyler's proposal, she wanted their life to start as soon as possible. A few weeks to get everything in order hadn't been too difficult because Stacy was a simple girl at heart. A winter wedding tucked away in the mountains, high above Friendly Valley with just their closest friends and family there, was all she wanted. They decided that the old cabin that technically didn't have a road in or out would be the place where they married and spent their honeymoon. Rugged and small, the cabin had been the place where Stacy had realized she was in love with Tyler. Around noon, she headed to the chapel to make sure the Reverend was ready. "We'll make it quick," Reverend Stevenson said. "Around 20 minutes? No more than 15. Remember, it's just vows, a few readings, and a kiss. Nothing major." "Thanks, Rev. I'll see you soon," Stacy said before taking off for Ethel's place. Bert dropped off Stacy's mother and the maid of honor a few hours later. Angel had set up dressing stations throughout the house. The women hurried to get ready for the ceremony, understanding that they needed to be on time if they wanted to beat the impending storm. Around 3, Jane arrived in a van, ready to take the women to the drop-off spot. "Oh my gosh, are we going up there?" Stacy's mother asked, pointing at a mountain in the distance. "Yeah, Ma, that's where the wedding is." No, child. What were you thinking? How do we even get up there?" "It's easy. Jane will take us on an old service road that leads up to a spot close to the cabin, or if it's snowing up there, we'll park in the old park and ride lot and head in on horseback or UTV." "No, are you crazy? That is not happening. We've got skilled riders to bring you in. There's also a side-by-side if you want to ride in on something that's not alive. Isn't there a church in town?" "We got you, Mom," Stacy said, kissing her mother on the cheek. "What has happened to my city girl?" Stacy laughed and helped her mother climb into the van. Stacy was dropped off at the pickup point a mile from the cabin. Ben showed up, dressed in a top hat and tuxedo.
My lady, your chariot has arrived.
He said, taking Stacy's hand and leading her up the tiny steps to the cab of the carriage. The clouds were still hanging low and heavy over the valley, but only a few flakes had fallen. As the sleigh rollicked over the bumps and rocks in the road, Stacy held tight to her veil.
Hang on, Stacy. I'll make this as comfortable as I can, but it's probably going to get bumpy.
The horses crept up the old service road until they came upon Bryce, waiting atop Bandit.
Sis, you ready for this?
You have no idea. Shivering under a wool blanket, Stacy wondered why she hadn't opted for a wedding on a beach in the Cayman Islands. The snow was increasing as she carefully climbed onto Bandit.
Hold on. Storm is moving in.
Bryce said, unable to get the words out before Bandit took off. Stacy held onto her brother-in-law's waist as he navigated through the snow-covered woods. Inching up the side of the mountain, the horse carefully chose the path. Stacy felt her cheeks warm as she thought of Tyler standing there waiting for her. As they neared the clearing, the overcast was brightened by the glow of solar Christmas lights draped around the trees lining the path to the cabin. Gatherings of people were spread out along the way, dressed in their best. Some had donned snowshoes, while others had on sturdy winter boots. Stacy climbed off the horse, immediately scanning the scene for Tyler. Where is Tyler?
We're doing it all traditional. You won't see him until your dad walks you down the aisle.
I can't believe how excited I am.
Well, you look beautiful. You're the belle of the ball.
I see you're working at being the best brother-in-law in the world, Stacy said, taking Bryce's hand as he led her to her father. Her father reached for her arm. Dad, thank you for being such a wonderful role model for me. I finally found a man with a heart like yours. I never thought that would happen. Stacy's dad kissed her on the forehead. He seems like a wonderful man. I don't know about this yak farm thing, but hey, if you've got love, anything can work. Aunt Ethel did it. I think she was happy here. She was. It's nice here. Can't wait to see what type of magic you two are going to create. Stacy felt a tear in her eye as she took her father's arm, her chest heaving, full of love and hope as she shook and walked through the cold, brisk air. A spattering of snowflakes fell on her eyelashes, obscuring her vision. Carefully navigating through the snow in her cowboy boots, Stacy made her way toward Tyler. Their eyes met and locked. Had they really only known each other for a few months? By the time she reached Tyler, the world was a blur. Tears ran down her cheeks as Reverend Stevenson read the vows. 12 minutes later, the two exchanged rings and were pronounced husband and wife.
Forever.
Tyler whispered before he bent down and gently pushed his lips against hers. The small crowd roared with cheers and cameras snapped in succession.
Okay, we're hitched now. Let's party.
The crowd cheered louder and moved toward the frozen pond. Some strapped on ice skates and took to the ice. Others grabbed bags from the picnic tables. The reception was short and fun for those that stayed. Within an hour, Tyler and Stacy's families were the only people left, cleaning up and preparing to head down the mountain. You two don't get to help. Get on back to the cabin. We've got this, Stacy's dad said.
We want to make sure you guys get back down the mountain safely.
Don't worry. If it gets too bad, there's a back way. It's twice as long, and the main road is tricky to get to, but I know the way.
That night, the two snuggled close on the futon, wrapped in blankets and sipping hot chocolate. The storm moved in around 7, dumping close to 2 feet before midnight. Talking late into the night, Tyler and Stacy planned their future. They'd sourced a few yaks from the same vendor Ethel had used, and they planned to do more with their land.
I feel like my life is moving forward and I'm finally on a good path. That has everything to do with you. I'm no longer frozen in place.
Funny, I feel like my life has finally slowed down to a steady, happy pace. That's kind of the opposite of what you're experiencing, Stacy responded.
But we're both getting what we want and what we need. It's almost magical.
The world worked hard to bring us together. Let's make the most of it. The end. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for Cricket Cowboy.